Never. Hi, my name is Robin, and I do church tours so people can find Jesus in a place that feels comfortable for them. Today I went to Oakland Bible Fellowship, and it did not disappoint. I know parking can be intimidating. There are different parking lots by letter. If you park in Lot E, they'll have a bus pick you up and drop you off, as well as parking guides directing the whole thing, so do not stress. It wasn't bad at all. I even got there a little bit late, and it was fine. The church is coming up on their 47th anniversary. Can you believe it started in 1976? I went to the 8 o'clock service, and there were ushers that led me to a seat. I immediately felt the Spirit in this church. This is home to Pastor Tony Evans, Priscilla.
Hey, grace and peace. Y'all know I sometimes I start off with something different. I don't want people to spin a narrative out here that ain't nobody going to church. I don't want that deception. Trust and believe. What's good with you, fam? I don't want that. I don't want that deception. No, see that I want to be able to talk about everything. And folk under the impression that nobody, because if you leave it to these funny dudes, folk under the impression nobody going to church. And how they throw the whole black church in this mess that they do. Let's just be thinking for ourselves. That's the most important thing dealing with all these religious folk. Don't think for 1 minute because somebody's a Hebrew Israelite, they're not religion and they're not pushing a religion. They're pushing a religion. Moses and them prayed. They had an altar. They had deity. They just as bad as Freemasons. Talking about Freemasonry ain't religion. Fair use.
Than never. Hi, my name is Robin, and I do church tours so people can find Jesus in a place that feels comfortable for them. Today I went to Oakland Bible Fellowship, and it did not disappoint. I know parking can be intimidating. There are different parking lots by letter. If you park in Lot E, they'll have a bus pick you up and drop you off, as well as parking guides directing the whole thing, so do not stress. It wasn't bad at all. I even got there a little bit late, and it was fine. The church is coming up on their 47th anniversary. Can you believe it started in 1976? I went to the 8 o'clock service, and there were ushers that led me to a seat. I immediately felt the Spirit in this church. This is home to Pastor Tony Evans, Priscilla Schreier, and Anthony Evans, who led worship. We took communion, which I always love. They had preacher Bobby Gibson Sr. It was all about faith. We were in Mark 11, verses 23 and 24, pretty much sum up the whole sermon. Go look it up. At the end, they allotted time during service for prayer and people to intercede for one another. This was my favorite part. Church started at 8 and we ended around 9:30. There's also an 11 o'clock service and you can watch online too. This church felt traditional and contemporary at the same time. It's a big church with a small church feel, and I cried again. I would definitely come and check it out. Let me know where you want to see next.
All right, don't fall for it. But at the same time, I said that biblical Christianity, I said earlier, biblical Christianity wasn't really that popular. Biblical Christianity ain't popular like a lot of these folk running around here teaching. Matter of fact, false teachers have always been jumping. In Israel, there was a man named, what's his name? Simeon. He deceived much of Israel. Let me pull up some Bible for y'all because y'all like Bible. So y'all need some Bible. Deception has been around with religion for a long time. For a long time. And it was classed. It had people classed because y'all do know back in the days in Kemet in Egypt that the book of the coming forth by day or the book of the dead wasn't for everybody. Everybody couldn't even get access to the afterlife. You couldn't get papyrus. You couldn't get a Bible or what they would call the coffin text. You couldn't get them prayers unless you was royalty. Later on, it trickled down to you little people. But that wasn't originally so. Is that how the Most High had it created from the beginning? Let me stop this. I got a couple of questions to ask, but we're talking about false teachers. False teachers everywhere. There's one thing about false teachers that I noticed. When false teachers come, there are people that'll move with the false teachers, with the false prophet, and will defend them to the end. Let me see if I can find this other funny guy right here. I got to get rid of that. Let me see if I can find this other guy because there's false prophets popping up, and a lot of them are from Africa. I'm gonna bring up a few of these dudes running around and they just stunting in coops and all of that stuff. They let you know they stunt and when they get popular, one thing about false prophets, they know they can speak against the book and they're not gonna be challenged. At least not by their followers. People can still give. Much as they speak against the book, contrary to the book, people still give anyway. That's one thing about false prophets, that their people are faithful and their people ride with them. Fair use.
I will destroy what? Men.
Hey, follow along. I need y'all to hear what Prophet Covey feels about Noah and the flood. I just need.
Oh, I should have found the original video. God said that he will destroy man, and he's trying to act like, being that he destroyed all man or mankind, Noah wasn't considered a man. I tell y'all what they're saying about fornication now. And these are all false prophets. Then I want to show them heresy is expensive. Then I want to show them, and I don't know what they're doing. They're waving their hand and spinning people around like voodoo dolls, like they're controlling dolls, and people jumping. And listen, nobody I know being witness with that nonsense. But some of you folk, and there's some Africans and you black folk, like nonsense. People bumping into each other, rolling all on the ground, and he's controlling them with the spin of his hand. I'm gonna let this play. But then other false teachers want to come and point that out and say that's all of Christianity. False teachers don't know how to separate. They got to stereotype. They got to make everybody the same. All black women got big booties and are whores. All black women love to strip spot and whore, and all black women got multiple baby daddies. All cops are wicked, racist murderers. You see how all ain't no good? Fair use.
I will destroy what? Men.
Hey, follow along. I need y'all to hear what Prophet Covey feels about Noah and the flood. I just need y'all to hear this real quick. Just please bear with me. Hold on.
What? Men, whom I have created. He did not say 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. He said what? Men. Everything called a man on earth will be destroyed.
Okay, so far, so good, right? I just want y'all to see how deception works. Deception is not me showing you this cup and telling you it's an elephant. Obviously, you're not going to really fall for it. You got to really have problems to fall for that.
Verse 8. But Noah. So Noah was not a man.
What was he then, Covey? Was he a cat? Was he a sea urchin? Was he a unicorn, Covey? What was he? What was he? See, that's how deception works. A little truth with a slight lie. That's how it works. Pull out your Bibles, man. Come on. This is why it's important to study to show yourself approved, says the Bible, because literally the verse after 8 where he decided to conveniently stop is verse 9 that says, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations, and Noah walked with God. Not only that, but God said he was even mad at the animals. So it wasn't just man, it was even the animals.
And one of the problems we have here with false prophets is they want to run and they want new revelations so bad to stir the people up. They want to stand out with something different so bad. I didn't say none. We're not blaming this on you. This is a different Covey this time. Fair use. That's the problem we have. All right, I want to make sure that I have the windows, that I have these windows closed as I'm going on. Hold on a second. I see a couple of comments I want to pull up on the screen, but I'm going to pull this up first, and then I'll get to them. I'll try to get to them comments. Let me just play this other thing right here. Let me get to this before I.
Where do all black people originate from? Most people think Africa is the only land where black people live, but you will be surprised to know that the truth is the opposite.
What does it mean to be black? What does it, and I'm asking this for a reason, because this is so tied into what people would call the awakening. And it's not just because of this Israel thing and the awakening. It's a couple of reasons, but one of the things is because race plays such a big part. Dunamis asked something earlier. He said, where have the church been off in history? In any major things, where have the church been off in history in the past sense? And this is important. We have to discuss it. Now, my man and them, the elders, at least the elder chapel up with deacon and them, they over there in my church, they believe race is part of the game. That's part of the game that people use. And when people say that's a modern social construct, but race played such a big role. Yes, yes, yes. Even in Christianity, race played such a big role. And Christianity was involved in. I got people who want to say it was biblical Christianity, but Christianity was involved in slavery and Christianity and white supremacy. See that I'm not going to just shoot the Israelites down and act like I can't see. I don't understand. That's like I'm going to tell y'all, yes, Christianity has a criminal record. As soon as Gentiles started getting large in numbers and becoming bishops and stuff like that, yeah, they did. We can find the first bits of anti-Semitism or early bits of anti-Semitism we could see in Christianity and how they treated the Jews. Christian. I'm gonna keep saying that. Y'all don't like that, but I'm gonna keep saying that. Christians did that. So I believe some of these conversations are good to have because we can't act like these things didn't exist. Moore said a whole rap. She said we can't act crazy out here because if people are confronted with this and they never heard it in the church, they never heard it in the history of the church, they never heard it in their congregation, it could be a problem when they run into it on social media. Fair use. Let's just see where people are with this when we start dealing with quote unquote what people would call black and all of this other stuff. Plenty of people are making the claim, not like Elder Green, shout out to Elder Green. He said he believed the original Hebrew people were dark skinned. But these people are saying something totally different. Let's see what's going on right here. Is this pseudo? Is this part of real history? Why should this even be discussed among Bible believers?
The earliest humans originated in Africa but migrated to Asia, Europe, and other continents where they lived as natives. But besides European and American blacks, people don't know about the Black Asians, Australians, and Pacific Islanders who have lived there for thousands of years. They even have exchanged genes with Asians and Australians, becoming unique and beautiful Black tribes. But how are they and what's their story? Welcome to a new episode of Black Culture Diary, a channel where we talk about less known and hidden Black history, culture, arts, and lost civilization.
Now, that's the out of Africa theory people going with. But I'm going to ask y'all a question. I'll show you pictures and y'all tell me who's black. What do we mean when these folk run around here and start talking about black? Who's black? And do those people consider themselves black like you would look at someone that is an African American?
We scrutinize history here to bring the Black culture back on the surface again. In this episode, we will tell you about the native forgotten Black tribes of Asia, Australia, and the Pacific.
Have Europeans, some universities, some teachers in Christianity 100 years ago, have they taught the superiority of Europeans? Because first of all, I want to see if y'all truthful. Have they taught the superiority of Europeans and and have they erased or neglected to discuss some things about African or darker people? Let me ask y'all that first. I got to be slow with you folk in the book. I got to take my time, be slow and deliberate, because we don't want to derail this train.
Let's get started. Number 1, Sidi, Habshi, Shidis, and Makrani. The Sidi people are an ethnic group in India who trace their ancestry to the Bantu peoples of southeastern Africa. They were brought to India as slaves or through the Arab slave trade and are mainly found in the western states of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Hyderabad. Over time, they have developed their distinct culture and traditions, blending aspects of their African and Indian heritage. Today, they live like normal Indians. However, they have a sense of their Indian identity. Similarly, the Habshi people are an African community living in India for generations. They are believed to be descendants of Ethiopian soldiers and traders who came to India during the medieval period. The Habshi are mainly found in the western state of Gujarat, where they have integrated into local society while also maintaining their own unique cultural traditions. In Pakistan, the Shidis are an ethnic group of African descent who live in the province of Sindh.
And the reason, because some people may not understand why I'm bringing this up, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up, Covey, is because these folk, anywhere you see dark-skinned folk, they'll say that they're Israel. Now, is that proper? And how do we, let me leave these folk alone. Hebrew Israel in here?
They are believed to be descended from African slaves and traders brought to the Indian subcontinent by Arab and Portuguese traders. The Makrani people are another community of African descent in Pakistan who live in the coastal areas of Balochistan. They are believed to be descended from African slaves and traders who came to the region through the Arab slave trade. The Makrani have a distinct culture and identity, incorporating elements of their African and Pakistani heritage elements. They have their own language, music, and dance, and have made significant contributions to the culture and society of Balochistan. Number 2, Australian Aborigines. Black tribes living in Australia are called the Australian Aborigines. Interestingly, it is not widely known, but the truth is they have been living in Australia for over 60,000 years. They migrated from Africa, and after detouring, they reached Australia and started living as hunter-gatherers. Their way of living was simple. They lived off the land and profoundly respected the natural world. They believed they were spiritually connected to the land and that their culture and beliefs were closely tied to the animals and plants they encountered. Even today, many Australian Aborigines still maintain their cultural traditions, although their way of life has changed significantly due to the impact of colonialism and modernization. Some still live in remote communities, maintaining a deep connection to their traditional lands, while others have moved to urban areas. Number 3, the Negrito people. The Negrito people are the ethnic group believed to be the earliest inhabitants of Southeast Asia and the Philippines. They are Filipino indigenous people who arrived in Asia about 50,000 years ago. They are recognized by their small stature, dark skin, and curly or frizzy hair, which make them distinctively very different and unique from the Black Africans of today. Since humans came to every continent from Africa, it is believed that the Negrito people were the first humans to settle in Southeast Asia. About 50,000 years ago, they migrated from Africa, reached India, and then reached Southeast Asia. On reaching, the Negrito people started living as hunter-gatherers, relying on the forests for food and resources. They were also skilled in crafting and using bows, arrows, knives, and fishing nets. Some groups still live as hunter-gatherers, while others have adapted to modern life but still retain their distinct cultural practices. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If you
This is how come, because I knew stuff like this was going to come up. That's how come I asked for to see if some of Yap Gang was in here. Look at this. Hebrew Israel, look at this. God said Israelites, listen to everybody. God said Israelites shall be scattered to the four corners of the earth. We everywhere, the sands of the sea. Now, you see how people, once they hear somebody black, they putting Israel on them? Hold on. Excuse me, Orthodox, Moore said 50,000 years ago, definitely not Israelites. That's a problem right there. That's how these folk make me smile. I tell them, before Israel was here, we had the original man. Oh God. I don't even, Ruddy Brew, I don't even want to see you because you don't want none of this right here. This you don't want. I talk about I follow the Bible. So you see how people, anytime they see dark-skinned people somewhere, they're gonna make them Israelites? Is that a problem? Is that a problem to Hebrew or Israel? Is that a problem right there? Y'all say it ain't about skin color. The church is preaching the skin doctrine. Let me. Is that a problem on the Hebrew of Israel? And if so, why is that a problem? Let me put a jump on here. Let me see. Help. Maybe you can answer a question or two for these folk and help some people understand that. Anywhere they see somebody black, they fit. That's the prophecy. Now, I don't know if that's how prophecy and blackness works on the planet. Everywhere you see black people, that mean they Israel because the Bible say we gonna be scared. That's how we doing this red letter. Red letter, is that how we doing this based on scripture? Because y'all are run. That's what I say. Quoting the book mean nothing to me. People run around here quoting Bible. I ain't gonna be on here along with y'all because they already told me I'm going to the school tomorrow. I got them folk is Monday, Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday. I can show up to work tomorrow. Fair use.
Yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and natural superiority. Let's continue now. Number 4, Pacific Islanders. People living on the Pacific Islands are called Pacific Islanders. However, this term is often used in a racial context. Pacific Islanders do not necessarily mean black people since they contain people of subgroups like Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. The Melanesian people are the actual black tribes that inhabit the Pacific Islands. The reason why they are called Melanesian lies in the name itself. The term Melanesian comes from melanin, a pigment that darkens human skin. Since black Africans have dark complexions, they are referred to as Melanesians. However, people living in the Solomon Islands called Solomon Islanders are also black. But they are unique to the rest of the black people you might have seen. They are the only black tribe on the planet with blonde hair. Pacific and Solomon Islanders have lived in the regions for thousands of years, and their societies and cultures have evolved. Historically, many Pacific Islanders were seafarers and navigators, using their knowledge of the stars, currents, and winds to travel long distances across the ocean. Perhaps they migrated from Africa and reached the Pacific and Solomon Islands due to their knowledge of navigation. They were skilled fishermen, farmers, and craftspeople, and developed complex systems of social organization, religion, and governance. Number 5, the Andamanese. The Andaman Islands are the home to the Andamanese, a group of indigenous black African people. Historically, they lived a hunter-gatherer lifestyle and have lived in substantial isolation for thousands of years. It is suggested that the Andamanese settled in the Andaman Islands during the last glacial maximum, which occurred around 26,000 years ago. The Andamanese are made up of several distinct groups of people, including the Great Andamanese and Jarawas of the Great Andaman Archipelago, the Jangle of Rutland Island, the Ange of Little Andaman, and the Sentinelese of North Senwa Island. The Sentinelese are particularly noteworthy for actively resisting outside influence and have been known to attack and even kill anyone who attempts to invade their islands. Most of the Andamanese have a distinct physical.
Was that was the group of people that killed that missionary? That white missionary went over there talking about he going to bring Jesus. Forgive me, y'all. Forgive me, y'all. Hebrew Israel. Why is this a problem? If it is a problem, why is it a problem?
There's several reasons why this is a big problem. I'm guessing you're asking in terms of proving that anybody who's black is Israel.
Correct, and because they're spread abroad, the prophecy said Israel will be scattered abroad. How do you look at that?
Well, first of all, using just skin tone alone, the reason why that's an issue is because technically speaking, all of our ancestors, all humans' ancestors, were dark-skinned at one point. So it's like, well, are we saying that just people who are dark-skinned are Israelites? That would mean Adam and Eve and Noah and Shem, Ham, and Japheth, everybody's just Israelites because they're dark-skinned. But in terms of modern human populations, clearly we have dark-skinned people in places like South Asia with the Dravidians. And then we got people in Oceania, like he's mentioning, Australians and Papua New Guinea people, who are dark-skinned. But genetically speaking, we as, let's say, African Americans have pretty much nothing to do with South Asian peoples like Dravidians or Australian Aborigines from a genetic point of view, and even from a linguistic and cultural point of view. But just dealing with genetics alone, they're far more Eurasian genetically than we are in terms of like autosomes and things of that nature.
Y'all see why the DNA thing? Some people would be mad at that. because to help clean up some of the racism in America, we've always had people in the Afrocentric community to say that those people are us too, just because they're dark skinned. Listen to this. I don't know how you feel about this. There's more Israelites in the world than any other race, according to Scripture. Matter of fact, everybody. I don't want just Hebrew to Israel. Who believe that? Because some other people say the Jews will be few in number, but because of the promise of Abraham, we're seeing them at. But no, because they're not. They're gonna get on here. They gonna want to get it. They gonna want to get in here and bang out. Does that what that verse mean? Because he made a promise to Abraham. Where there, Rev C? Somebody find Rev C in these Bible folk. Somebody find Covey in these Bible folk that's teaching this thing. Does that verse means this ain't for Hebrew of Israel so much? Does that verse mean that because a promise was made to Abraham and he said, look up into the heavens and your descendants gonna be like the stars, and look under the sand and they're gonna be like the sands on the beach? Does that verse mean Israelites are going to be the largest population of people on the planet? I ask y'all that right now in Jesus' name. Keep going, Orthodox War, with the blackness and what you were sharing. I mute myself. Let me know if you want to, and let me know if you want to share, if you want to pull your screen or something up in sharing what you're saying. Go ahead. Because they're dark skinned don't mean that. Go ahead. I think you were there.
Yeah. So I guess, all right. So when it comes to this whole question of blackness, what do we mean when we say black? You know,
I have no idea. Maybe you can explain. You know better than I do.
now this is sort of like a question for everybody, because it's like, are we talking about skin tone, or are we talking about lineage? Because for one, in terms of the African continent, there's a lot of dark skinned people, but everybody on that continent isn't genetically related or the same. Like take the big,
Everybody from Africa is not necessarily an African.
exactly. I mean, it's the most genetically diverse places in the world. So everybody there, although they're all, I guess you could say, black looking, they're all very distinct and different in their own way. You can find more genetic diversity within, let's say, the modern day country of Nigeria compared to like some other part of the world, and all the people there wouldn't necessarily be, let's say, quote unquote black. For instance, let me just give an example. Like if you look at pygmy populations are genetically distinct from, let's say, a Amazigh population, like a Tuareg person. A Tuareg and a pygmy is not the same in terms of height, in terms of
So you're
genetics.
saying that people, even on the continent, we in our ignorance may look at them and call them all black, but they would distinctly know that no, I'm this tribe, I'm that tribe, I'm from here, I'm this is me, and they're dark skinned.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
Exactly.
The whole scale of 1 and 10. Pull that up, Rev C. Go ahead.
Because folks say like, okay, so blackness is attached to your phenotype. If you have a wide nose, thick woolly hair, prognathic jaw, a very dark skin, and things of that nature, then that makes you black.
That came from Blumenbach and them folk, or whatever that guy name is, that divided the races.
It did. It came
Early
from
anthropology. Okay, is that nonsense?
All right, but here's the interesting thing about, let's say, the ancestors of modern day West African populations, like let's just say the Yoruba and the Mandinka, and people like that, Yoruba, Mandinka, Ghanaians, basically E1B1A populations. We're going to put it that way, E1B1A populations. I've been studying and looking into things like the Green Sahara and the migration patterns of E1B1A, and even what the early, I guess, say skulls would have looked like. The ancestors of modern day African Americans and West African populations actually would not have been, quote unquote, Negroid. The Negroid phenotype is actually fairly recent. The ancestors of West Africans, and this might be controversial for me to say this, but there actually is evidence for this, but the ancestors of West Africans and African Americans actually would have been dark Caucasoid types. We would have looked more, we actually would have looked more like East Africans and Saharan type populations than we would like a modern day Nigerian. The reason why we look the way we look today is because our ancestors migrated into sub-Saharan Africa and that mixed with Pygmy and Khoisan populations. But the original E1B1A would have looked far more like an East African type, like a Amhara or a Somali, or a Coptic person, a Amazigh, something like that.
Something came up. Can you look at? Is there any one DNA? You're talking about E1B1A. Is this last question? Is there any one DNA that we could say is Israel?
All right. So in terms of the Israelites, I believe in the mixed multitude concept. So there would have been multiple genomes present. So I wouldn't be surprised to see sub-Saharan African DNA. I wouldn't be surprised to see Caucasus DNA, like Caucasian. Like the Caucasian Iranian type DNA, Zagros.
Did y'all hear what he's saying?
Yeah, because there definitely were Caucasians genomes in ancient Israel, 100%.
Oh, Father God!
But
I done brought this guy up here. He trying to stop the awakening.
No, I still believe that. No, I still
pound the table for me. I ain't even got no table. Pound the table for me. This is a problem, y'all. This is not awakening doctrine that he's saying right here. Because they want to argue, and it's two problems. Because a convert, how is a convert supposed to be treated and looked at according to the Bible, Rev C? And this other thing, when people trying to act like light-skinned folk wasn't around. Because they want to disqualify Ashkenazi. What are your thoughts on that right there? Go ahead. Don't leave you alone. I'm gonna stop bothering you. But
disqualifying the Ashkenazi have a, oh my god, they're probably the most Israelite of Israelite peoples. Because
Allah.
One is because they follow
out right there. Somebody paying him.
No,
like Abu, right? What do you think about Abu?
Abu, what about him? He's cool. He's a cool dude. But
you want to say, bro? Tell him we want to see your house like we saw Alton house. You want to say, bro, because you don't sound right here. Say that part one more time that you just said.
No, Ashkenazi people are some of the most Israelite of Israelite peoples in terms of their culture. Like they actually practice like Judaism and Israelite culture. So it's like,
but all right, could it be
by default
DNA? Could it be that they just learned it from Black Israelites?
Well, here's the thing. The interesting thing about Ashkenazi, there's in terms of their background, there's different types of origins for them. So Ashkenazi people who have E1B1B, they too, just like E1B1A, would descend from, I guess you can technically say all people descend from dark-skinned people, but specifically talking about like Ashkenazi people with the E marker, they didn't necessarily have to learn from Black people. Saying Black people is kind of weird to me, but they would have already had the culture because E1B1B and even the J marker that Ashkenazi groups have been in the Levant since before the Israelites and during the Israelites and after the Israelites. So they would have had the culture and the typical phenotype of the Levant and Egypt around that time. Like so. Yeah, go ahead.
Good, because Vanessa, we like Vanessa, but Vanessa comes in here talking crazy all the time, not once in a while, all the time. She said, not until the Romans conquered Israel, they were very dark, brother. She's talking to you.
Yeah, so what's
not until the Roman period, or were there light-skinned Israelites before Rome came on the set?
Yeah, before Rome, there definitely would have been light-skinned Israelites way before Rome, way before the Greeks and Alexander, because we actually have samples of people and populations like the Canaanites from the Bronze Age, basically. And these Levantine populations actually had Caucasian and Iranian type of DNA and Armenian type of DNA. So if you just look up Iranians, Armenians, and Caucasians, those type of peoples were in the Levant since the Bronze Age, and they look, they look, I guess you can say, white. I guess I don't like using the term white and black, but I'm trying to.
Because one out of their mouth, they'll say, well, skin color don't have nothing to do with it. But when you make statements like that, people want to get offended.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I mean, if you want to follow the facts, I mean, that's it. That's how it was.
All right, y'all. All
I'm not
right.
saying
All
there
right.
wasn't dark skinned folks there. There was, but there was white people there too. I mean, both. Just
Is
like with
she
Egypt.
talking? She talking to you. Explain some of this here. We ain't gonna spend a time with you, Vanessa, because that religion got your mind strong. But go ahead. Just to
King
show y'all we don't play with folk in comments and super chat or no super chat. It's something that's relevant to the conversation. We putting it up there.
King
Find
Solomon.
another channel. Go ahead. Find another channel. Gonna do that. Go ahead, brother.
King Solomon, Jeremiah were dark color. Explain this one, brother. I mean, we don't even have the bones of King Solomon and Jeremiah, so I couldn't really say.
Does the Bible tell you anywhere what King Solomon looked like?
From what I read, no. I mean, I make the general assumption that they were probably brown. But do I think like they would have looked like Nigerians? No. I'm sorry, but I can't say that.
Look at this. This is what people would often use, Rev C. Read that for me, brother.
All right. King Herod was called a Jew, but he was an Edomite convert, making him Jewish, but not the true seed of Jacob. I understand that. I don't see the relevance of it.
No, because people are saying now, because you're called, but they're arguing bloodline and who's a convert, because people really want the world to believe and know that black people in America are true bloodline descendants of Jesus. Converts came on the scene, that's one thing, but they want y'all to know that you folk that have been in slavery here in America, you folk that done been hung during Jim Crow after slavery supposedly ended, you people are physical bloodline descendants of Jesus the Christ.
Jesus Christ, I didn't even know he had.
What say ye? What say ye on that? Let me pull up some other stuff.
Okay, so here's the best argument I believe I can make. I do believe that there were Israelites and Hebrew people on the west coast of Africa. I believe there's evidence for this. And I do believe that the descendants of Israelites and Hebrew people were on the slave ships and made their way across the transatlantic into America, and some African
On the
Americans.
top of the boat, the bottom of the boat, or both?
Both. They'll be both.
Ah,
And I do believe some African Americans can descend from these Israelites and Hebrew people. Now, with that being said, the argument of saying my goal isn't necessarily to make the argument that one group or the other has to descend paternally from Judah or anything like that. My argument more for the African American and West African side is that I do believe that some of our ancestors could have been part of the basal population, the proto stock of Israel, around the time of the mixed multitude in Egypt and the Exodus. That's the way I would kind of phrase things, and that's how I would say it. Until we get like like the actual bones of like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But I do believe that some of our ancestors, could they have been in Egypt? Could they have been part of the mixed multitude? Could they have been played a significant role in the basal population of Israel in terms of genetics? Sure.
I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. Give me. I'm gonna play some of this. All right, hold on. If you got time, if not, jump back on. Just let me know. Thank you. Listen.
I'll stay on as long
Okay,
as
all right, no problem. Listen to this, y'all. Listen to this. It's stuff like this. Vanessa, we so past this. We say that Nathaniel ain't finna fool nobody over here. I'm not pushing this narrative. Now, y'all Israelites move together. The other guy said, don't separate us. So y'all move together. I'm gonna play some of the video with Deacon and Deacon. I'm gonna play some Dante at the camp, Sakari, GMS, Nathaniel, IUIC, ISUPK, everybody. Moderates, not all Israelites, y'all moving together. So we gonna put y'all together because we don't want to separate y'all. Y'all a nation, y'all are a people. You and them handlers can't fool me with this garbage in Song of Songs. Song of Solomon 1 and 5. What does it say, sister? What does that say? Song of Solomon 1 and 5. What does it say? That's the don't look upon me because I am black. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. That ain't even Solomon talking, so you can't give me that. Nathaniel and them give that to the people in the street that don't know no better. And then when you bring stuff out like that, they want to get to arguing. Well, all of the Israelites were dark anyway, and Judah mourneth and is black unto that. How y'all twist that up? I don't receive none of that. I don't receive none, and that don't mean I'm saying all Jews looking like Ashkenazi. But that y'all can't give me. How can you be? That's how come I can't spend a lot of time with Vanessa, because we know we love you, but you different. You're a nice person, sister, but you just don't understand what we be saying. How can you be past that Bible scripture? I'm not moving with them. I believe the scripture. Thank you, Covey. Where's Rev C? He said he'll come on. He said he'll pull scripture up. Let me play some of this and pull the scripture up, Miss Randy's preaches. All right, give me 1 second. I know the thing's not playing yet. Song of Songs says, I am black and calmly, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. Keep reading the rest, sister, and tell me if it's Solomon talking, or is it the slave? Is it the girl? Good to see you, Judah Rise. How your mom and them?
So today I told you I would show you the Illuminati in the Bible, as well as Illuminati, Freemason, League of Nations in the body, and I'm going to explain to you what it is they're trying to do. So scripture, it's Psalms 83:3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The importance of Israel, you would think metaphorically that means the 12 tribes. But when you know the actual Bible, there was the house of Judah and there was a house of Israel. The house of Israel is invoking a certain prophecy. Here's the second book exposing the Illuminati, Freemasonry, all that. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. Every one of them, you would think it means the whole house of Israel or all the 12 tribes. No, the hidden ones, which are the ones who are of the house of Israel. They know where Sarah's buried. They know where Abraham is buried. They stay in Israel, Egypt, all that. They know generationally this bloodline exists on the earth.
Some of this is nonsense. I'll talk to y'all about the history of the Illuminati, why they came about, and why this don't make no sense at all. They know where Solomon buried and all that. Y'all can't, that garbage that these folk talking about, that conspiracy garbage, they can't give me none of that. And then mix it up with scripture. But Psalms 83 talks about a conspiracy. Now, I ask you Christians that don't claim Israel, from your understanding of early history, have white people got together and lied? An attempt to hold y'all down, an attempt to keep y'all back. I'm talking about during slavery. I'm waiting because y'all a couple of seconds behind us. I'm gonna stop this video right here. Then I'm gonna I gotta pull this up for the sister. It always comes up. I'm gonna read something to you, sister. This blue letter, a good bit of Israelites, you lose blue letter. Blue letter Bible is not the demon, right? Because a lot of your handlers, a lot of campers, non-campers, a lot of Israelites teach they use blue letter Bible. Is that fair? The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. Look at verse 2. Let him, you see that, sis? Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. So whoever's talking, well, it could be LGBT. Listen, Sister Vanessa. Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Because the savor of thy good ointments is thy name is as ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. Does that sound like Solomon? Draw me, we will run after thee. The king has brought me into his chamber. Who was the king? The person is talking. Who was the king at the time of this right here? Vanessa. I'm talking to Vanessa. Vanessa, help us and teach us. Because you think we don't love the scriptures. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. I am black but calmly, O daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me keepers of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. Tell me, is this Solomon right here, sister? Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth. This Solomon right here, sister? Listen good. We're going to go to Judah mourneth and is black unto the ground. We're going to go to all of that, and we're going to see in its context if that's saying what Nathaniel and them saying, sister. Solomon was the king, so he was in the vineyard. The sun made him dark, mess around in the vineyard if he was the king. Make it make sense. That's all we asking. All right, let's get back to this other stuff. Because these Christians got to explain some stuff. You Israelites, y'all, yeah, these Christians got to explain some stuff, right? We always talk to y'all about explaining stuff. They gotta deal with some stuff right now. Let me pull this up. That Song of Songs is not good to use because that ain't Solomon talking. We don't use that. Now and automatically don't let the worms eat your brains. Because we say that don't mean that we're saying all Jewish people are white people. Because a straw man demon is on some people to make them hear some stuff that we ain't saying. All right, I'm gonna stop dealing with that right now. Let me go to some of this. Let me go to some of this to get these folk can get their mind right. Is it this one? I'm gonna go right here. Let's get right into it. Because some charges have been made. Hey, Davis.
So now, no matter what they say, the 400 years is etched in stone. It's marked in history. It was done to a people claiming to be Israel.
Hold on a minute. This is what I'm talking about, Larry, Israel. When the sun is angry to Caucasians, do they turn black or red? That you're missing the whole boat. There's a spirit that's on some of y'all. You missing the whole boat. We're not talking about white folk. We're talking about whoever's talking is not Solomon. Stop using that verse to say Solomon was a black man. Whoever that's talking, they say they got black because of the sun, and they say, let him kiss me. That's all we're saying. That's not Solomon talking. Stop using that verse. And you're foul if you keep using it. That's fair or that ain't fair? Because just because it's coming from the book, you are of your father, the devil. So they ask you in biblical school who, what, where, when. Who, what, where, when. Who was talking? Was it the Queen of Sheba? Was it Jesus talking? Was it the Sadducees talking? I don't accept every doctrine from the Bible. If Jezebel is talking in that book, God ain't talking to me. I ain't thinking about Jezebel talking that nonsense she talking about. She said, what about Jeremiah? You just can't jump. We'll go to every one of the verses you talking about, but don't jump to one because you seen it wasn't, and do more research on it. Look at different versions on it. Is it only work in the King James Bible? The doctrine is not right. Look at it in other versions also to understand what's being said and if you find it not to be Solomon, you're foul if you continue to repeat it. How about that, Vanessa? You're foul if you continue to repeat it. Are you foul? She said, King, Jesus, glory to God in the highest. She said, King Solomon was a handsome man. King Solomon was handsome guy, so the woman was talking to King Solomon. But who is, for glory to God in the highest. Glory to God in the highest. I'm from the city, and we ain't had them school buses. We walked. We got a few of them, but it wasn't like y'all got down south and all of that stuff right there. But I know I'd have been on the short bus. Now the question is, Vanessa, would you have been sitting next to me? I know I'd have been on the short bus. I stay telling people I'm slow with it. I stay telling people I'm slow with it. The mods and they be hitting me, and I'm trying to talk about technology. That's why I ain't even messing with vocab. I ain't messing with vocab no more. On that debate, vocab, and because I know I'm slow is something that bothers me, so I always tell people I'm slow. On the debate, vocab talking about don't put the other comments up, slow down, like I know all of this stuff and I don't, so I got mad automatically. Ooh, and he light skinned too. I'm like, ooh, I'm not dealing with this vocab after this debate right here. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, because I am slow. Tell y'all the truth. But I know I'm slow. I accept that I'm slow, and I tell people that. But some of y'all are slow too, but y'all don't want to say it. Y'all think y'all come to teach and y'all slow. Now I know it hurts. Fair use.
Who were taken to a land that is not theirs and enslaved and oppressed. And like I said, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. Do we believe our Bible or do we believe our doctrine? So we've looked at number one on the chart. Now we'll look at 15 of these. I'm not going to go that deep into all of them, but there was a reason I had to lay that foundation. Number two on the chart. Israel scattered and punished because of disobedience and idolatry. So throughout the course of the Bible, God tells Israel, hey, if you disobey, I'm going to put you into slavery. If you disobey, I'm going to put you into slavery. And you will hear those who don't believe anything that Israelites have to say. They will point out that people in West Africa were practicing idolatry.
Now, one of the reasons that I'm playing this is because when it comes to the 400 years, Dante doing more evangelism than a lot of people. I see people on TikTok talking about his book, and he's challenging folk with the 400 years. And he getting folks saved, or that what preachers would say, because they preaching and they lifting up Israel. So in terms of to make the Christians understand, I might have to use some of those terms. We have established that have people lied or told part truths on history. A lot of people say, why did they begin? They got Black History Month after fighting. Van Sertinen was fighting Christopher Columbus, discovered America. Had folk lied in the past. Now they're saying things, and I think some of my church people got to take it seriously, because they're saying, I don't know nobody in the Black church that was really out here preaching that Jesus spoke about the transatlantic slave trade. So it's just not Blackness, we're the people. They're saying y'all been reading the scripture wrong. They say they could prove that Stephen wasn't talking about the 400 years in the past. Jesus was talking about a future. No, Keys, we can't deal with you today. We don't need no twisting. We don't need no running interference today. Not today. So one thing we need to do is admit some things. Thank you so much. No, I ain't saying the salvation, but I'm just so people can know, so the church can know the level of what they're doing. And it's different. I talk like I ain't got an education. Dante, he don't sound like that's how I tell you I don't play with these people. I don't play with these people. And I think it's a good thing on their behalf that you sleeping on people like Dante and Gorilla Hebrew and Deacon. Y'all are sleeping on them. Some people say, oh, well, it's not our job to fight cults. You have to explain some things. because they're challenging our interpretation, not just Ashkenazi Jews. They're challenging our Keys. What do you want? Let me. What do you want, Keys?
I just wanted to ask a question, Brother Berean.
Always come in with them
No,
questions.
no, it's about his system of research with Dante.
Oh, I don't.
As we know, when he wrote the book, as in the days of Noah, there were people that considered his research credible. I was wondering, was he using the same approach in his research now as he was doing then? And if he is, why would his research on that issue be credible, but in this area not credible?
Is that a fair question, Tony Osborne? That's the only book of his I got. So before I even came in contact with him or anybody that knew him, I bought that book because I was involved in some of that stuff about, I don't know, years, 70, I don't know how long, years ago.
I just came to ask a fair question. I wasn't trying to run interference. I was just
but apparently the message that we the people, when that message came about, people had some beef. People had some beef, and I think, from my understanding, the community he was around, which was largely Europeans and people like them and stuff, they didn't want to get involved in none of that stuff right there. Kobe said that is a fair question. All right, jump back on. Unless you want to hold on, jump back on. He said that's fair. He ain't want to run interference, but I know that he'll get on the organ when I start some of this right here. I know he'll get on the organ. I love you, brother. Appreciate you. Let's let it play. Because now you Christians, you admitted some people lied. Some people left some parts out of history. Y'all admitted that, right? I'm not helping awakening, but we got to do you church folks slow. We got to do y'all slow. Not saying y'all belong on a slow bus, but y'all are so, your mind have been, because it's established and people have said that these people are a cult, your guards are up and you ain't trying to hear nothing. Cults are right. A broken clock is right twice a day. Let's see what's right. Let's see what's truth. And then we'll deal with the other stuff. We can't even come to agreement on the fact that the Bible talks about the slave trade. Is that safe to say? Is that safe to say, Covey, most excellent? Is that safe to say? For the record, Covey, do you believe Jesus talked about the slave trade? We're going to go to Luke 21. We're going to go. Do you believe that? Do you believe that, Covey, or most excellent? Does Covey believe that if you're not claiming Israel and you're in here, do you believe that the slave trade is in the Bible? Because that's something big. If white folk know it and ain't say it, if black folk was never taught that, because back in the days, a lot of preachers weren't even going to seminary. And then most seminaries were racist even in the beginning. So preachers ain't start dealing with seminary, but they have that interpretation prior to going to school, prior to seminary. A seminary specifically leaving that out. I don't believe he talked about the slave trade. LeChat says no. Terrence Jones says no. Who is a Christian in here that believes the slave trading is in the Bible? Most excellent, do you believe America is in the Bible? I'm asking y'all this. I'm trying to see something. Serious.
Well, they were practicing it in the land of Judah. We've seen this. So because they were practicing idolatry in the kingdom of Judah, some ships came and got them and took them into slavery, just like the Most High said he would do. And we see this again. We know this is true because the Library of Congress has the map. This is not a Israelite site, a Hebrew Israelite site, a Black Hebrew Israelite site. This is the Library of Congress, a new and accurate map of Negro land. And if we come over here to Negro land, the kingdom of Judah, or Widdah, is marked as the slave coast. Now, you could tell yourself whatever you want to. We've gone over the evidence.
And like I said, he's one of the best ones on really evangelizing and using the slave trade, using Deuteronomy, the 400-year prophecy and things of that nature. I like what Covey said. Covey said Inquisition ain't in the Bible, Holocaust ain't in the Bible. All that stuff ain't got to be in the Bible. Let me read it right here. I don't think he talked about the slave trade, talking about Jesus, but he didn't talk about the Inquisition or the Holocaust either. It doesn't have to be talked about in the Bible to be true. LeChat brings something up that a lot of people don't like to deal with when we deal with the slave trade, trans-Sahara slave trade, and everything else. The slave trade was practiced all over the world, but they're saying chattel slavery was different. They don't know slavery is almost as old as the human race. But we're trying to go somewhere. So you're of the impression, LeChat, that they're bringing up something because black people heard about that and they don't have an identity. So give them the identity, quote the Bible, and show them it's in the Bible. He's challenging people. He's challenging people. I'm not sure if enough people are taking on the challenge. I said, make a list where he's talking, make a playlist debunking it, get the other people that have done this, have touched on it, have spoke on it, and make playlists to help people out. Even if you're not a YouTuber, somebody can do that. I don't know technology. I'm slow. I'm old and slow.
That it was called Judah because the people believed that the tribes of Israel were there. You guys can go back through my videos if you have not seen that. Go through my Beyond Deuteronomy 28 series. You can go through any of my other historical series. I mentioned this a lot. People can say what the word Witta means. Cool, it means bird. Cool, whatever. Doesn't change anything. The historical record said they called it Judah because they believed that the tribes of Israel were there. And then we have Cambridge, who says that the Israelites, the black Jews that were there, were being targeted and rounded up for slavery. Now you can tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself, but the map isn't going to change. So people who lived here were taken into slavery. And after they were taken into slavery, they were scattered all over the world, into Asia, into various parts of Africa, into Saudi Arabia, into North America, into Europe, into South America. They are moved all over Africa. You guys can see these maps here. So again, what does Genesis 15 have to say about this? Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So Israelites were moved to land that is not theirs. And we find again the 400 years. But if we read down here into Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, it says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. So they're going to be a minority. That's what few in number means. You're going to be minorities.
And y'all are called minorities today.
And are black people known as minorities? Yes or no? And I know you can say that, well, that didn't mean that back then. That word minority didn't mean the same thing as it did now. Well, when it comes to numbers, it meant the same thing. Number wise, we are a minority. I'm not talking about the racist context it has in our time. I'm talking specifically in reference to the black population among all the other people all around the world. Our people were thinned out and scattered so that we had small numbers in various places all around the world. No matter how you want to look at history, that's what happened. You will be minorities among the heathen. It says what it says. If we go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 64, they'll say this isn't prophecy. Deuteronomy 28 isn't prophecy. And yet Deuteronomy 30 says it is prophecy. And Deuteronomy 31, Moses says it's going to occur in the latter days when they will break this covenant. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So if you want to serve these gods in my land, I'm going to scatter you all over the world, let you serve gods in other people's land, a land that is not yours. But the problem here is This occurs after Egypt, so you can't apply this to Egypt. And also, even if you tried, that wouldn't account for being scattered among all people. But you know it does.
He said that occurred after Egypt, LeChat. You can't put that on Egypt. The link is out there. I'm just listen, Kobe. Just listen.
Does account for being scattered among all people. This transatlantic slave trade, the same transatlantic slave trade that they tell us we can't apply Bible prophecy to. But let's keep looking. Ezekiel 12, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries. One more time. Let's look at this transatlantic slave trade map.
JT Mac, they're not saying on like how people are looking at, they're not saying on the planet, they're saying in the countries where you are. Are there more white people or black people in America, JT Mac?
He's going to do what? He's going to disperse them among the countries and scatter them among the nations and disperse them among the countries. All right, let's look at Ezekiel 22. And I will scatter thee among the heathen and disperse thee in the countries and will consume thy filthiness out of thee. So again, over and over again, God says he's going to scatter Israel among the countries. We see a verse that says 400 years as slaves in a nation that is not theirs. Is it a coincidence that all of this has happened to the same people during the transatlantic slave trade? The question is, do we believe our Bible or do we believe doctrine?
Now, a doctrine is teaching and is supposed to come from the Bible. So you see how Israelites are arguing like, we're in the Bible, we're in the Bible, we're in the Bible. Then they'll ask y'all questions like, where did this occur? He said this was after. Do y'all heard the word after? You can't make Genesis 15 a future prophecy. It already happened. Yeah, we got problems. We got problems. Let me play some of this and 1 second. Fair use.
On the planet Earth. So now, did I pull this up? Nah, we don't need that. What are the odds?
Y'all see the name of this video? The name of this video is Mathematical Proof. Let me see, it's small. Mathematical Proof Black Hebrew Israelites are right. Must see. Mathematical proof that the Israelites are right.
Odds of getting struck by lightning 7 times. So I looked this up. You guys can see. What are the odds of getting struck by lightning 7 times? So now your odds of getting struck by lightning 7 times is 1 in 10 to the 28th power. That is that is 10 with 28 zeros behind it. I'm not even sure what this number would be. It's 1 with 28 zeros behind. That's your chance of getting struck by lightning 7 times. Now, I tell you this because, like I said in the beginning, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. What are the odds? So now, I asked myself that question. What are the odds? What are the odds that there would be all these signs in the Bible? Let me get the chart real quick. Let me pull this chart down here because I want to make sure I have everything where it needs to be. So what are the odds that we would fit certain prophecies on this chart. There are 61 total prophecies that I've pulled out of the Bible so far on this chart. And again, you guys can get this chart at the link in the comments section. 61. So yeah, they're all numbered 61. What are the odds that these prophecies would fit us? Because we've been told we take scripture out of context. We've been told we're reading it wrong. People say that these people are having false visions, and yet all these visions led to the truth. It led to history that supports the claim. It led to DNA that supports the claim. The geography supports the claim. Language, we have found, supports the claim. Archaeology has supported the claim. But does the math support the claim? And to my knowledge, nobody has touched on the mathematical probability that we are Israel. Men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. So again, keep this in mind. The odds of getting struck by lightning 7 times is 1 in 10 to the 28th power. That means if there are this many people, there's not even this many people on earth, but if there was this many people with a lottery ticket right here, if there were this many people with a lottery ticket, this would mean your odds of being picked, you would either have to be extremely lucky, or it would have to be by design. The game would have to be rigged for you to win. It's either extremely lucky or the game has to be rigged. Keep that in mind. And the reason I'm showing you this is because we're going to come back to this number in a second. So what I did, I sent this over to some professors at Harvard. I'm going to go over these numbers in a second. I sent these numbers over to some professors at Harvard. Give me a second here. Now, the reason I'm moving this is because I'm going to go over these numbers in a second. But I sent it like this. There's nothing on there. All right, there's nothing on here as far as an explanation of anything. Now, I'm showing you guys this for a reason. There's just a bunch of numbers. You guys don't know what these numbers mean unless you know what they mean. So now I'm going to give you, let me see here. I'm going to give you an explanation of these numbers in a second. But I just want you guys to look. I just sent, this is what I sent over to Harvard. Now, right here.
The Big Lots Memorial Day sale is here. Save up to 40% on indoor and outdoor furniture, mattresses, and accessories.
These are the professors I emailed. All of these professors. Only one of them got back to me, and I'm going to read you his email back to me. He actually did ask me not to reveal his information, which is interesting. But if you guys want to, you guys can email here's their contact information. Is Harvard Department of Mathematics, Harvard University. This right here has all their contact information for all of these people at Harvard University in the mathematics department. And you guys can contact them. Maybe they'll answer you, maybe they won't. But here's why it's not important which professor answered, because this is a basic math equation. Anybody can verify this. In fact, not only am I going to give you the link to the professors at Harvard, but I'm going to give you the link to all the professors at MIT. And you can run these numbers by them as well and do your own independent verifications. If you know how to calculate odds and probabilities, you can do that. If you have a probabilities calculator, if you know how to do it manually, feel free to check the math. The math is the math. It doesn't matter which professor did or didn't respond. The math is the math. So I sent them over the math. Here is the email I sent. I'll read it right here. I BCC. You can see I BCC'd all of these professors. These are all the professors on the Harvard thing. It says, my name is Dante Fortson. I'm working on a YouTube video which will feature a probability calculation. I just wanted to make sure my math is correct before posting the video. Attached is a PDF showing my calculation results. Alternatively, here is a brief summary of my results if you don't feel comfortable opening the attachment. The calculation is the probability of 15 out of 61 specific events happening to one specific group of people, similar to choosing numbers on a Keno card. Here are my results. 5 events, 1 chance in 5,949,147. 10 events is going to be, let me just show you. 10 events is going to be one chance, and that is 90 billion, 177,170,138. Or as you can see, 3.2723415 times 10 to the 17th power. Now I did these calculations myself. This is the calculation I got. 15 prophecies would be 1 in 70,539,987, 826,694, or 10 or 9.2243334 times 10 to the 25th power. That would be the probability of Israel fitting these prophecies. So I just sent over the numbers because you only need the numbers. You don't need the context that we're talking about Israel or anything else, because men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. So I emailed all these guys and only one got back to me. This is what he.
Covey said this is the type of mathematics to prove that Jesus was the Christ. I guess that he rose also, how many prophecies he fulfilled. And again, let's be fair. All right, let's go.
He said, you have a calculation error, in parentheses, rounding error. The denominators you want are, now let me stop right there, because when he said I had an error, I'm like, whoa, I might be way off. The denominators you want are 5,000, or here's it, 5,949,147. So my original, this is what I got, 5,949,147. So I got the probability. So the probability of Israel, of black people here in America fitting just 5 of these events is 1 in 5,949,147. So let's see, 1 in 5 million. So you have a greater chance of being attacked and killed by the shark.
So y'all heard Professor Covey said, let's be fair. Somebody else just said, let's be fair, to debunk the info that he's presenting. Listen, church people, we're living in a time, if you don't debunk it, if you don't address it, they're going to think it's true and you got something to hide. By default, they're going to think it's true and you got something to hide. Or the church is just in it for the money. Y'all don't care about truth. Y'all just care about money. Tell you that other thing spreading around church made $800 billion. Where's the money? Is church just a hustle? And people start connecting all this stuff. I know in your good minds that you it's not connecting, but people are hearing this stuff, and if it's not debunked, they'll believe it. I'm not saying that that's how it's supposed to be, but this is just what it is in the streets. And when I say the streets, I'm talking about social media streets right now. So listen, preachers, pastors, your kid's not immune to this. We already got testimonies from pastor kids done walked away from the faith to embrace this. This is the next level. Dad, you are where you are. This is the next level of it. We're the people, and they're connected with why white people have treated us so bad. Pastors' children now. You grew up in a house with a pastor hearing doctrine, and you're immune to it. Listen, don't bother me, church people. Y'all can't bother me.
Than just 5 of those prophecies fitting black people in America. Now, that math was spot on right there, my first calculation. So in the second calculation, he says, so the first one is correct, but the others need more precise arithmetic than you have done. Also, please do not mention my name in your video. I already get too many messages like yours and do not wish to attract any attention and receive any more than I already do.
And a lot of these professors, they don't want to be connected with siding with any run group, especially any hate group, any of that. They just try to be careful. Come on. Oh, wait, Covey, let me see. He left and came back. Humanity said, this man is showing clear scholarly evidence. Why the chat don't go for what Humanity just said? Just wanted to drop that link, fit it in the. Oh, okay, all right.
This is right here, sincerely his name, and it says Harvard University Department of Mathematics has the address, and this is math.harvard.edu. Now, again, it doesn't matter which professor responded because you can independently check the math. And again, the list of all the Harvard professors.
Oh no, Orthodox Moore, don't start that. Don't start that. Where do you think some Professor Cat stuff is going on? Because he ain't say what professor? Go to the microphone, Keys. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull that thing up.
Hey, Brother Berean, I want to just say, encourage the group to just listen to his flow with this. From what I've done, because I graduated from Kentucky State University with a degree in Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics. What I've seen from the professor, as Dante explained his work, it didn't break any rule of mathematics. So for those that are saying that you don't believe the mathematics, you don't have to believe me. If you're qualified enough to follow mathematics and all of the logic with the formulas, feel free to do so. And if not, then I think that there are certain people that should stay in their lane, because this right here is going outside of a lot of just looking from book to book. Now you're dealing with a divine science from God.
Uh-oh, he said a divine science from God. Okay, all right.
Divine. And, you know, because I'm in a lot of mathematical groups on Facebook, and there's a lot of people that say it's a joke within the group that mathematics is God's perfect language.
Yes. I've heard that numerous times.
And I'll give you an example. You can express 2 + 2 in the American way of expressing it. Then you can also say do-si-dos, but no matter how you express it all over the world, you get the same results.
That's how come. What movie was that? And they said they had to bring in mathematicians because they had contact with aliens to try to understand the language. But others believe that some other people believe that God hid mathematics in the universe. That's God speaking to the Einsteins and the people with those minds to attempt to understand it. I just want to make sure she's laughing at that.
And I'm just saying, before you come to a conclusion, if you're able to do the math yourself, it's okay to follow it and see if it adds up. But from what I saw, when I was going over the mathematics from the professor, because this is my lane, according to Kentucky State University, I didn't see where the professor broke any rule as trying to fudge a number to get his answer.
Read that right there.
So why didn't Dante go to the black folk in university? He went to white folks. One thing about mathematics is not a black or white thing, because it's definite regardless of who does the math if it's done correctly. He could have went to an Asian university.
A lot of Asians in MIT. They got Asians in Harvard and Princeton.
Yeah, so mathematics, when done correctly with the right intent, it supersedes personal opinion.
Okay, all right, hold on. Y'all heard y'all heard that right there. Mathematics is Islam, and Islam is math. They said sound like a nation of Islam. They say it sound like the 5%ers. They mocking y'all.
I'm not a 5%er. You know, I even talked to Dunabis about it when I explained to him. He was asking some questions about my background, and I did tell him that, you know, I graduated from Kentucky State University with a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics. And so this right here, you know what I mean? It piqued my interest when I saw this video. So I decided, you know, to go back old school calculator, brought out some books just so that I could remember some equations, because it's almost impossible to remember every equation past a certain level of mathematics.
Read Most Excellent right here.
I'm not even trying to check the math. Even if it's done correctly, we still know the descendants of Africans fit those curses. So the question still remains. I'm granting the math. Okay, well then, if Africans fit those curses, I mean, like, you're saying Africans, but you're not saying what Africans. And that right there becomes the question. Somebody else asked that earlier. Then you would have to find another people group that actually match it up. If it's Africans, descendants of Africans. Now, which Africans? Is because Africa is a continent, and there are many different tribes and nations within the continent of Africa. So now we need to pinpoint which ones.
Does that make sense, Most Excellent? Is that fair?
And you can shake your head all you want to. I'm asking logical questions. I'm not even going to bat saying that it's correct, but I'm just saying with the comments that are being made, we're what Dante is addressing is specifics, and you can't answer specifics with saying many Africans fit those curses. Now we're asking for specifics. We're not asking for many. We want you to put your thumb on it and say, I believe that this group right here fits that.
Covey said, Guerrilla Hebrew said you don't have to fit all the curses or something to that effect.
Well, I'm just going by what who was it that just posted that about the comment about
Most Excellent.
Africans fitting that?
Most Excellent.
Most Excellent. I'm just saying that you're in that comment that he made, it was nothing specific. You're just saying Africans. Okay, which ones?
And this is what they're saying when you hem them up. This is what they're saying, Most Excellent. When you hem Christians up, they'll make a statement, but they're trying to say you got to press the Christians for some date, for some time, and they're trying to act like if you further press them, they have no more information. Because that's what they'll take that and say, well, because he's asking you which ones now. You're saying they fit curses and all of that stuff, and this is what people are saying.
Because we're not, I just think that we're in a different dispensation of information, and the I'm right and I say it so narrative is definitely on the table for being challenged. And it may be uncomfortable.
So you're not automatically right because you're the Christian or because you've been to seminary or in seminary still. Is that fair or that ain't fair? I'm telling everybody. Oh boy, Christians don't even. This is not the line of reasoning. What other people lost their heritage? Christians don't. They ain't going down that road right there with you. But all right, fair use. And JT Mack keep like a broken record. That's what they'll say. You keep saying Deuteronomy is not a prophecy. We can't even argue that. From the time Covey came in here and said that these people ears ain't even they ain't even dealing with that. Y'all don't even believe the book. That's what they're gonna say. Fair use. Now the challenge is coming. What other people lost their heritage besides us? But some of my church folk, that's all stupidness.
Professors, the link will be posted, and the link to all the MIT mathematics department will be posted as well. You can check these numbers independently yourself. So now he gives me this one for the 10. So 10 out of 61 of these would be 90. What was this? 90 billion 177,000. I'm sorry, 100. Let me start with 90 billion 177 million 170,226. Matter of fact, let me just show you this right here. So my first one was correct right here. The end times prophecy probability chart, this version 1.0. This will be available for download after this is over. You guys can go download it yourself. And so let me explain this before I go too far into the second one. So the odds of five prophecies being fulfilled out of the 61. Here's how you calculate probability. For those of you who don't know how to calculate probability, you take the total number of
This is a problem right here, y'all. Let me show you something. Professor Covey said, Deuteronomy is not prophecy, but it's a contract. So it can happen again and again and again. What say you to that, JT Mac? It's not prophecy. So I guess it can move like it's prophecy, being the fact that it's a contract. Probably for Israel. You disobey, y'all going into captivity. I don't think we can throw this stuff in the garbage. I don't think it's not as plain cut. I don't think it's as simple as some of my people making it sound. And he's saying something that I say all the time over here. He said he just want to be fair. Fairness is important. Now, in light of fairness, what do we do? In light of fairness, JT Mac, what do we do, Van Harris, in light of fairness? He's saying it's giving stipulations. Elder Harris, he a Christian pastor. And now look at this. Now look at this good thumper. That's why Israelites were in so many captivities. Captivity do seem to be a pattern with Israel. Can we don't put that on the table? We got to throw that in the garbage. JT Mac, well, the link's out there. If you want to jump on. Berean Covey, that contract has been fulfilled, so I stand on my original statement. That contract was forever, or it was for only one time, coming from God dealing with Israel. He said he stand on his original statement. Fair use.
possibilities. So we have 61 possibilities according to this chart. 61 possibilities.
For anyone between the ages of 49 to 64 who is unable to work for medical reasons.
You then put 5 over 61. That's so out of these events, so if 5 events are to fit, you're going to choose 5 events. Now, your odds of getting just one of those to come up is 5 in 61. So now,
Covey, I try to open up the other thing. I don't even know what that thing is saying. Let me try to see if I can open this and share it. Are you home? Can you, maybe you could, I tell y'all with technology, y'all think this stuff be easy.
What are you trying to do?
He sent something that he wanted to put up on the screen. Give me 1 second. Let me let this play. This was the part where I get aggravated right here. Please share it. Jump on here or send it to Hebrew or Israel so he can pull it up on the screen if you can't jump on it. I don't know about this stuff here.
Hey, Covey, you can send it to me on Facebook. If Berean can't get it up, you can send it to me.
Yeah, definitely send to him. I can't. I clicked, the only option I got is to share it with somebody else in Messenger. The one in the back chat, you mean, right? And I opened the other one, and what the other one say? Page not found when I clicked on the other one. All right, I'm going back to this. I'm gonna go back to this video whilst y'all setting it up, because he said put up on screen. I want to put it on screen.
now that one is done, you take the remaining left. So your odds of getting 2 would be 4 in 60. Your odds of getting 3 would be 3 in 59, 4 would be 2 in 58, and the odds of getting all 5 would be 1 chance in 57. Now, what you do is you multiply the numerator. To get the numerator, you're going to multiply 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which will give you 120. To get the denominator, you're going to multiply 61 times 60 times 59 times 58 times 57, and so on, which gives you the number 713,897,640 as the denominator.
All right, Covey, what's going on here? This is it right here.
I have it pulled up, but I'm going to try to send it to you as well, Brian. I'm going to send it to your Facebook Messenger.
No, make it big. What Covey's saying?
Oh, make it big?
Yeah.
All right, let me see. Does he want this or the commentary? Which
one, Covey?
I don't know which one he wants. Because I can zoom in right here. Or is he up here? Is he on the
Yeah, no, that's JT Mac.
Oh, okay. Can Covey?
He talking to you?
Right there. Can y'all see that?
Yes, sir. He said read the top part.
Oh, you want me to read it or?
Yes, please.
Oh, my bad. I was in the middle of something. I was like, why is it so quiet? Hold on, let me put down my phone. Here, hold on, my bad. And lo, a dread, even a great darkness fell upon him. The rabbis in the Midrash have interpreted this fourfold expression as, to be an allusion to the servitude of the 4 exiles. For the prophet Abraham found his soul overtaken by a dread followed by darkness, which in turn became a great darkness. And then he felt as if an overwhelmingly heavy load fell upon him. Thus, the rabbis have said, a dread, this is Babylon, darkness, this is Media, that darkened the eyes of Israel with fasting and affliction. Great, that is the kingdom of Antiochus, fell upon him. This is Edom. Interesting. Okay.
Come on, JT Mac. He said the white Jews used Genesis 15 over and over and over. Covey trying to help the awakening. In light of being fair. Come on, church people. Come on, church people. What fairness have to do with salvation? Let me hear y'all start saying crazy. Come on, JT Mac. I'm mute myself.
Yeah, Covey is split the room, but 400 years in Egypt is 400 years in Egypt. So to my brother Limited Keys, we go way back, and yeah, he's a sharp dude in mathematics. I ain't no snob in mathematics myself, but I didn't go as far as him. I took electronics engineering in the 80s. I had to do some form of calculus, and algebra was my favorite mathematics class and coming out of high school. But so I would never sit up here and argue the math, of statistical probabilities with a mathematician. That's not the issue. The issue is what's being manipulated to me to say, well, black people are the only people who fit 5 of these potential curses. And so no other people on the earth potentially fit 5 curses. or prophecies or whatever you want to call them. No other people on planet Earth potentially fit 5 prophecies. If we want to start drilling down on, and and scrutinize everything, yeah, and go from there. So that's one thing. And then the Ouija. I mean, you were playing that video earlier. The people of Ouija were slave catchers, and we're back to Ouija again. And he keeps saying that the people. He keeps saying that the people of Ouija were captured and enslaved when his own source said they were slave catchers. So I don't understand how people are listening to this stuff with cognitive dissonance, banging their head, and they can't hear that the dude is contradicting what the freaking document is saying. This makes no sense to me.
All right, go back to the people, because they're going to ask, they're saying to hem them up when they make statements. Do you have an idea offhand any other people that fit 5 of the prophecies? Ashkenazi fit 5 of the prophecies?
Well, number one, the ancient Jews went, and here's the other thing: the Deuteronomy 28. And Kobe brought up a great point. Whenever those people, those ancient Jews, those ancient Hebrews, Israelites, got in trouble, whenever they disobeyed God, whenever they were being harlots and chasing other guys, whatever, they got in trouble. They got punished. That was a constant thing because they were always getting in trouble. And my contention is, why are people using Deuteronomy 28 when that contract has been fulfilled? We are under a new contract. That contract, those people are over there they don't even got a Levitical priesthood anymore. They can't keep that contract anymore. That contract is fulfilled. That contract is void, null, dead. Move on to the new. So sit up here dragging curses out of the Deuteronomy 28 makes no sense to me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, got you. You said they fit the blessings too. All right, Hebrew Israel, thank you. Let me pull this thing up. Hold on, don't go away in case, because I know some questions gonna come up for you.
And then in order to get the ratio, you're going to divide the denominator by the numerator. So it's going to be 713,897,640 divided by 120, which will give you a ratio of 1 chance in 5,949,147. So if that many people had a lottery ticket, that would be your chances in winning. So it would either have to be lucky or by design. It's not impossible to win a lottery with less than 6 million entries. You wouldn't be surprised if you didn't win, but it would not be impossible for you to win if all things were equal and everybody only had one single ticket. So now let's go back to the email. He corrects my math. 90,177,170. 226. So now let's see what my math was. I went ahead and I put the correct. So here's all 10. I've already explained how this works. So now, because there's 10, you would start at 10 and you would go backwards. You would multiply all the numerators. You would multiply all the denominators, and you would get the result of 3,628,800 as the numerator and 3.27234415 times 10 to the 17th power as the denominator. Now, this right here was my original that I sent over to him. I put them side by side so you can see it. 1 in 90,177,170,000. Or let's see, 100. Let me say it again. 90,177,170,138.889 chances of this being, a coincidence. It would have to be extremely lucky, or it would have to be rigged. And here's where he corrected me. Now, notice his numbers are the same up to this point. We're dealing in the billions now. He rounded up. He said it needs to be, what did he say? It needs more precise arithmetic than you have done. So his rounding up actually came to a slightly higher number. Mine was 138. He got 226. But other than that, the rest of it is the same. But that slightly raises the odds. But basically, the chance of Israel or black people in America fitting 10 of these 61 prophecies. Remember, I gave you over 15. If you go back and count them, I gave you over 15. If you grab the chart has them marked which ones we fit. So when the probability of us fitting 10 of the 61 prophecies is the same thing as having a lottery ticket and 90,177,170,226 other people on the whole planet had a lottery ticket. The odds are the same as winning that drawing, that we would fit just 10 of the prophecies. That means we have to be super extremely lucky, or the game has to be rigged in that direction so that we win. There's not even 90 billion people on Earth. There's roughly 7 billion. Even if we said 9 billion people, even if we said there were 9 billion people on Earth, you'd be 10 times more likely to win a lottery with 9 billion people on Earth, and you have the winning ticket, than you are for Israel, for black people to fit the prophecies, 10 of these prophecies, by coincidence. It's just more likely. This is not a coincidence. But I went even further and got to 15. It says right here, he corrects me again. This number is 70,539,987,008. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep doing that again. 70.
I don't think we're explaining it right. Go ahead, Orthodox Moore. I'm not sure if it's explained right. Because Covey, say what you want. God judged or did something to Israel after the resurrection. I think some of the Christians, they're a little confused with the curse and curse being lifted. And I just don't know. But go ahead, Orthodox Moore. I'm mute myself.
Yeah, what Kobe's saying, he's saying again, that's the same type of math proving the probability of Jesus fulfilling the prophecies in the church applauds that math. So on one level, I can understand that. But on the other level, this is why I'm saying it's 3-card Molly in the cheddar. Like I'm West Coast, it's 3-card Molly over here. The East Coast is probably 3-card Monty with that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, brother, I know what you're talking about, brother. Go ahead now.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he's running the math on one people. Is he running the math on every Jewish population? No. Like
so you're saying did he run that math on Ashkenazi?
Yo, did you run it on Ethiopian Jews?
Okay. That's a problem. That might be a problem. Go ahead.
Did you run it on the Kochian Jews? Did you run it on the Jews in North Africa, Sephardic Jews? You know, like, so for instance, do the Ethiopian Jews fit the same amount of curses as so-called African Americans? If not, are we saying they're not Jews now?
Or the Asian Jews in India and other places.
My G, you feel me? Like, so it's not consistent. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is how, you know, like, I'm not mad at my G, you know what I'm saying? But he's not being consistent with the information. Like, if you apply the whole thing across, it's not, like, again, like, did he mathematically show that the Ashkenazi Jews can't be? Did he walk through the history and, like, see what do the curses apply to their joint? No, he didn't. He's trying to sensationalize and build off of an appeal to emotion, which is a logical fallacy. And that appeal to emotion goes back to what I was saying just a little while ago in the chat. Like, I'm stuck because I'm trying to figure out, like, why are people trying to cling to the curses but reject the blessings, right? Like, so your whole culture is like, we're cursed to Israel, and we just got to wait for God to come bless us and whatnot and save us from the wicked people of the world and whatnot. You know, that's a crazy doctrine, fam.
Hey, Orthodox Moore, quick question.
Yes, sir.
He's using the mathematics to prove it to be about us. The Ethiopian Jews and no other Jewish population are the ones in question. So that argument would not affect his mathematics.
No, they have to be in question at this juncture. That's the whole point.
It actually doesn't have to be, because he's going for specifics.
How can it be us and not, like, how can it be us and them?
I mean, you can do a comparative, but the ones in question are us. So he's just doing the mathematics that pertains to us.
Bro, the 400-year break down how the 400-year prophecy applies.
Because that's not how mathematics work, bro. So you can be very specific. You could be very specific in mathematics where the inclusion doesn't even make the difference.
I see a
When
lot
you're
of people.
looking for,
Go ahead.
because when you're looking for something, I'll kind of give you an example of it. So you can use mathematics to find pretty much anything. Now you can have some people cooking the numbers. As far as when I've started following this, the numbers were not cooked, or how can I say, there was no intentional botching of the numbers from what I was able to go through for the amount that I was able to go through. Now he can do comparative to others, but that comparative does not answer the question for us, because within mathematics, you can go within mathematics and be specific. It's not always giving you the general conclusion of everything. There are certain specifics within mathematics that you can touch within the logic of all the formulas of mathematics. It doesn't mean that the general conclusion has to be the right answer when you can go for something more specific and looking forward to it. So
But keys, real quick. The implications are that the black people, the Negro, is the only people that fit those prophecies. Now, here's the other question too, and maybe you and more can answer this. What prophecies is he referring to? Is he referring to Deuteronomy 28 or some other prophecies?
You have to ask him. That's his thing. What I'm saying, all I'm saying
Deuteronomy
is
28,
that
100%.
within the rules of mathematics, Orthodox Moore is not 100% correct, and that would be based more so on an emotion and not the rules of mathematics.
No, I said that he was talking about Deuteronomy 28, 100%.
Right, and he does, and within the mathematics of trying to find it about us, all he has to do is conclude to use us. Now he can do comparative, but comparative.
Let me ask you a question, honestly. Why is he not doing comparative analytics with this?
I don't know, because I think what I think he's doing is specifically addressing us. And
But
in
you don't think,
mathematics, and wait a minute, in mathematics, you can do comparative, but that the comparative doesn't always address the specific question within what you're looking for. And that's taught within mathematics.
but Keys, you don't think the implications of what he's saying is we fit these curses, but nobody else does?
What I'm saying is that if he is approaching it, so if he's approaching it specifically for us, he doesn't have to go out and do a comparative of Ashkenazi history and comparing it anything. You can prove this mathematically just by the formulas, the protocol on how to use the formulas to get the information. You kind of do it without. How can I say? You do a lot of it within physics.
Okay, so then
because they're related sciences, and that route of mathematics, when you're addressing a specific, it doesn't change for the specific, even though you can compare it to the, how can I say, the comparative. It can be true for that specific.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. And even if he chooses to do a comparative of or not, that does not change the accuracy of the specifics of what he's going for.
Okay, so what Most Excellent said earlier is true then. Yeah, he said, the Africans or black people who fit the curses, but he's also saying so does other people. So then if he's not going to do a comparative, then he can't rule out other people fitting the same curses. So how then does that even prove Dante's? If other people fit as many curses,
because the original question, the original question was not solely about the comparative; it was about the specific.
Well, let me ask this question. Let me ask this question.
What I'm saying is that within mathematics, if you do that, then you know what I mean. You can come up with any kind of, how can I say, explanation, which takes it away from the original intent. His original intent was that he was doing it for us. He can do comparative. He can do comparative, and it would be nice that he does, but he does not have to.
Okay, but I'm asking.
Because mathematics, when it's done correctly, according to if it follows the formula and the guide of how you are to come to these conclusions, then you can't deny the accuracy.
Okay, so
go ahead.
So I'll land real quick, Orthodox more. So again, if these same curses or prophecy, whatever he want to call them, fit other people as just as many curses fit other people groups, then what's the point of all this?
Because the point is originally, which goes back to what Berean asked on the last video, was how people's narrative have changed. Because at one point in time, people said it wasn't us. It couldn't possibly be us. Now, mathematically proven it, he's given he's given a walkthrough for anybody that does not agree with the mathematics. This walkthrough is following the very techniques and the laws and the rules of application of mathematics that is taught.
Hold on
universally taught.
I want Leo to come to the microphone because he said something in the comment section. Go ahead.
I got a quick comment. So you talking about mathematics. I work in analytics now. Brother, Unlimited Keys, when you're looking at his data, do you see any variances in the data set that Dante presented?
So if you're talking about the variances, no, I don't see where he compared it to anybody else. But what I'm saying is that within his logical so you said you're in analytics, right?
Yes, sir.
You should be able to work backwards to tell me if it's wrong.
Through statistical analysis, looking at all the
statistical.
Data.
So mine is pure mathematics. I didn't specialize in statistics. I only took a couple of courses in it, that only courses that were for the mathematical degree. Now, if you wanted to address the specifics of it, I would think that it would be wise for a Christian that disagree with his mathematics to come with the formula or a video explaining the formula why. But as of what I see as of right now, that's not my problem. I don't have to do it. I'm not taking that position. That is for you to do.
Question. I'm saying if you're looking at the formula we have right here, question, can there be any variances in this formula?
What do you suggest they be?
How many times has he done this? Like I said, he sent the emails out to multiple different professors. They looked at it, but there's obviously ways you can have outliers here that would affect the data set. That's the issue. That's what I'm saying. Like when you're saying, the reason I jumped on because you started mentioning.
So what I suggest you do, and I'll keep it 100, $1.50 and fair. You would have to go to Dante's original mapping out of how he did this to qualify that. Yeah, I've had some extensive education for oppressed people. I couldn't help it. My parents, pastors, they were teachers. Wasn't like I really wanted to go to college. It was their dream, but I went anyway.
Got you. That's why I just came up here to say is like,
yeah.
I'm looking at the
so
data
you would
set
have to actually contact Dante and actually, so as he's writing all of this stuff down on paper and figuring it out, you would actually have to, the goalpost didn't get shifted. You would actually have to contact him and see his original mapping out of all of this. Now, according to that professor, I'm going to finish up. I probably have maybe about another 5 minutes to go through the mathematics of it myself. But so far from what I'm seeing, it doesn't break the rules of mathematics. Now, if you're questioning the outliers, I think it would be best for you to go to Dante himself, because he's the only one. He's the only one that has it.
I got you. And the reason I'm asking this because when you're working with probabilities, there's variances that could occur into affecting the overall, I would say, the main result. So the issue could be if you're that's why I said when multiple variables are at play, when you're dealing with, like you said, for this specific formula, it could affect it. And like I said, if I do it and based on how I come to and apply the formula, it could be slightly off. It could be certain issues that can occur. And that's why I said it's better to do it not just specifically on the formula, is to pull out all the different data that he has, the different components. He's saying he's using all these different numbers. Let's put in a specific formula that can be applied consistently. And then any variables after you've done it a few times, we can definitely check that out. But I think just looking at the raw data set now, I'm like, there's ways you can get variances out of this, and it won't be consistent. That's why I'm surprised that when you're saying you went to school for mathematics, it's like, okay, how do you not see possible outliers in doing
I just said the formula, just based on the formula.
Let me
The
ask
formula,
you.
just based on the formula used. I would like to I would actually have to see Dante's original, how he came to those numbers. Now, that's not for me to do because I'm not the one arguing against it. So I'm going to let you fight that battle. And if you feel like you have something to present that is a little bit different, then go right ahead. But I suggest that if you really want to know what he used, you would have to actually ask him because he was the one doing the mathematics, not the professor. The professor pretty much.
Hold on a minute. Let me ask you a question, Keys. Do y'all think that who in here a Christian that really said they looked into Dante and them sources? You think Christians are just knocking the source, but they're not really, 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 really seriously looking into it?
I could tell by some of the responses in the comment section that you had people that have no clue of anything past trigonometry commenting on it as if they know mathematics. And all I was saying is that you might want to kind of stay in your lane if you're not up to speed in this level of mathematics. You should let those that you trust come to the conclusion for you before you kind of, speak on it like that. To deny it, to just say that, oh, this is Mega Million lottery talk, that's cool, but those are emotional responses at this point.
But you agree he applied the math with a bias and wasn't applying it across the field for a comparative analytic conversation, right?
I don't know. I have not. I have to see his original.
Obviously, he didn't do
more.
any
What I'm saying is, for me to answer that honestly, I would have to see his initial work and how he began the process.
Bro, hold on.
The initial work.
I need you to be intellectually honest right quick. Like, so you're looking at what he just did. Did he compare it to any other group?
Why would he have to?
No. So that
because he's not asking about any other group. He's going specific. That's not how
he has to.
In mathematics, you can be specific without.
I didn't say he has to, brother. I said so you agree that he applied the mathematics with the bias and was not doing a comparative analytics. That's all I was saying. So
I don't believe that's not. So what you're trying to say is that a portion of mathematics could be biased.
So I'm saying a bias
because you don't have to. Because when you're looking for, depending on how he got his original
bias in a negative sense, I'm saying bias in a scientific sense, right? It's where you're applying it to just one thing. I'm not saying it like
no. So what I'm getting at is that we don't know because we don't have the initial paperwork that Dante wrote on to start mapping this out and to figure it out. The only way you're going to get that is if you ask him. But that's not my
comparative analytics at the beginning, brother. Stop playing. Like you know what I'm asking,
brother Moore. I understand that you're good in your DNA lane, but I think if you don't understand mathematics on this level, why don't you let what was that Leo that was speaking? You're gonna have to get somebody credible in mathematics.
Hey, Leo, let me ask you. So was Dante applying the math in a biased situation, or was he doing comparative analytics?
Based on the formula, it's possible he could have some bias just because of the specific numbers that he's presented. We don't know if he has a specific. I mean,
possible.
And that's what I'm saying. Question too. So he definitely was not applying this to multiple groups in this video. So he's not saying.
We don't
so
know.
It's not a.
So then it's a 50-50 split.
Let me finish what I'm saying, but so he's not doing. He's not, in the video. He's not doing comparative analytics. That's all I'm saying.
We don't know if he only has one data set. There's no comparative analysis there at all. He has one data set. Well, what else is he comparing it to?
That's all I'm saying, brother, man.
And all I'm saying is, within mathematics, I know that that's reasonable in debating tactics, but in mathematics, you can be very specific.
So you would agree then if I want to make so he's making a positive argument, like, so this is who we are, right? But if I wanted to make a negative argument over somebody of who somebody's not, I should do a comparative analytics with this, right? I should comparatively analyze the information to rule out who somebody is not, correct?
Is his argument that they're not the people? Because if he's making the argument that they're not the people, then you would need comparative arguments, or you can also have them comparative data to those that are. But if you're talking about specifically in the probability of this one area, we would have to actually see how he came to his conclusions before he even approached the professor with his initial gathering of data. Now, what Leo said is basically a 50-50 split. You don't have to believe it, or you can believe it. But until you have the evidence of it, which a lot of people in the room were making comments based off of their emotions, that's not how mathematics works. That's what I was addressing.
No, I'm with
but
that.
What I'm saying is what I saw going from those formulas, there were no rules broken by the professor. Now, how he got the information to give to the professor, you got to go to Dante for that.
Yeah, and what I'm basically saying is this: so let's say I go with all the equations that Dante puts out. Let's say I agree with everything he's saying, right? At most, what I can do is make a positive claim about us. I can't make a negative claim about someone else. In order to make a negative claim, I would have to do comparative analytics. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I agree with that. But for those that were in the comment section, this is almost.
Let me say this real quick, Keys. I'm gonna answer brother most excellent question. It'll be hard to give an analysis on the group specifically because this broad spectrum. Because with the data set, who will be included, who will be withdrawn, and then on top of that, with the comparative analysis, we got to have independent variables. So who is our dependent? Who are we solely basing it off of? And who's independent variable that you measure against? So like there are specifics. Like in this example, if we want to utilize the iris, that'd be a good way to do a comparative analysis. If you have the data set for, I don't know how many types of, the large volume of Irish people you want to look at in comparison to modern day blacks, so to speak. Just get the data sets together, then have an independent variable that is not like those that you want to compare those to and show the distinctions between each other. That would discount some variances.
It almost sounds like y'all got some work to do.
Oh, so you telling us that we got to do this work?
Yo,
wow!
I don't have to do this. This is not my argument.
Wow!
I'm not arguing it. I'm not arguing against it. You are, for those that are willing to argue against it, you have some work to do.
Man, okay.
That's how mathematics work. It's not based off of, well, you said this, and you can get away with that in debating. You can't get away with that within the science. So for anybody that's questioning his mathematics, you got to get to work and prove that his mathematics is wrong.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. But I'm just saying.
That's all I'm saying. It's not, and for anybody that took offense for how I said it, there's no other way to say it politely in a Christian way that would soothe your soul. So what I'm saying is that
we got to do the math. We got to do the math ourselves.
Yeah, you got to do the math.
But listen, but also we have to talk to Dante to get all of his data to make sure we know what data sets he was using, make sure he had no variances or outliers that he included in there to manipulate the data, and then present the evidence that we find and then challenge Dante. That's what we have to do.
That's the only way that you're going to do it mathematically. All of this, I don't feel like Dante is trustworthy with mathematics. That's not how it works. You're going to have there's going to have to be mapped out. And so what I'm saying is that how Berean saying that there should have been a sector of Christianity on the history. Now you're going to have the section of Christianity on the mathematics.
Gotcha. Okay, I see what you mean.
I'm just being fair.
I'm in disagreement just because of how the position was pushed and the specific formula that was pushed out there. I think having to go to Dante to even understand his data set showcases there is some issues that may be there, because if he's not showcasing his data sets, then that may be a leaning towards some bias there, and there may be some manipulation. I'm not going to assume. But if you're saying I
I
have to
mean,
go to Dante
you
to
can only
if you're
go with a
saying
50-50 split on that, though. You can't just say that he 70% intentionally
I haven't
did
said
that.
any percentages. I haven't said any percentages. I'm just
I
saying
mean,
if you're
that's
saying
what
I
I'm
have to
saying for
go,
anybody in the room that's guessing that is standing with you because he didn't show that in the initial process. For anybody that's doing that, I mean, the only way to really get those numbers that he started out with, we would have to go to Dante.
for sure.
I
Okay.
wouldn't even say we, because I'm not including myself in it. That's an argument for anybody that wants to go against the mathematical process that he went to the professor with.
Got you. I'm good with that. And the reason I jumped on too, because you were mentioning specific comparative analysis, and I do it for a living. So I just wanted to understand how you got to that idea for what Dante was presenting. If we don't know what data sets he had initially before having presenting this, that's the only reason I jumped on.
That
Well,
makes
even
sense.
if
Or that don't make sense
well,
to you,
even
Paul?
if
Go ahead, Keys.
so, well, even if his numbers are wrong, let's just say like his numbers are wrong, right? The process would still be the same to get to him. So you would have to actually refigure it, figure whatever numbers you feel like is wrong with what you feel like is right, and then using a mathematical equation, you would have to explain it and actually, to do it. Now, who has the time to do it or wants to put forth that effort? That's on y'all. That ain't because I'm not in that argument against it. But I would think it would be wise that you get your calculators out instead of saying, well, because it's Dante, it must be wrong.
No, you need to understand the data specifically to
Right. I
understand
understand that, but I'm
how
talking about from most of the comments that was in the room. Because
I
when
got you.
if you go back and read those comments, I'm
just saying if you understand when you're talking about probabilities and you understand the data sets, if you get challenged on a specific issue and your work comes out wrong based on someone else doing their own work, we challenge all of your data off rip when we can't trust it. And that's why
Kendrick.
you will need to reveal. That's why you need to reveal data sets so others can do their work as well to get to the same answers, to understand your methodology.
This is what I'm talking about, Kendrick. I am far past the Pythagorean theorem. So if you want to say as a fake statistic expert, I've never said that I was a statistic expert. Never said that.
Yeah, you just learn regression models and stuff like that. But that's all right though.
So
We don't want to keep
what I mean.
going.
So you
I
got
don't
a
want
lot
to
of people.
dogpile.
You got a lot of people that's ignorantly speaking from the hip.
I got you. That's it. I didn't want to dogpile on you or nothing like that. But I understand what you're saying. This will be a good way to build off this. You
Yeah,
gave me
that's
a
what
homework.
that's what I was just saying. I even
You
gave
gave me a
y'all a
homework assignment.
kind of a way to kind of counter it if you can. But from the ones that's actually talking in the room outside of you, I don't see too many people that, you know what I mean.
Just gotta get the
that
data
is
from
even
Dante. That's it. Just
yeah,
see whatever Excel.
or you can get it from Dante. That might be easier.
If you got an Excel doc, got a Google Sheets, whatever he's using to pull his data and VLOOKUPs and if functions, whatever he's doing. I don't know. I don't know if he's working with Google to advanced analytics.
My question is somebody in here gonna do that? Or this just another talk? This is just talk.
Oh no, I'm taking notes, Brian. I'm taking notes, Brian. I'm friends with Dante. I'm gonna reach out to him.
All right. Who's that, Leo?
Yeah, it's me. I'll reach out to him.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. All right, y'all hear that's at least somebody on it. Thank you, Lord. All right, fair use. Let's listen to the rest. Somebody said Dante been a liar. I ain't worried about. Let me fair use. Fair use.
$1,539,987,842,520, or expressed in a mathematical equation. You see it here. Again, you can download this. This would result in 1,307,674,368,000 as the numerator, and the denominator would be 9.2243340 times 10 to the 25th power. So the reason I brought up the odds of winning this, so if we take off 3 zeros and we only imagine this number right here, this is 10 to the 25th power right here. Don't count the highlighted zeros. That would be 10 to the 28th. Like, so you are only slightly more likely. It's only slightly more likely that we fit the prophecies than it is to get struck by lightning 7 times. Only slightly more likely to fit 15 prophecies than it is to get struck by lightning 7 times. If you get struck by lightning 7 times, it's likely not an accident. It's likely you either doing something you aren't supposed to be doing. I'm talking about those people that chase lightning and be up there playing with the poles and setting up that sort of stuff, or something has it out for you. Someone has it out for you, and I don't believe somebody's going to get coincidentally struck by lightning 7 times. So,
giddy up. Let's get right into it. How do you make money using artificial intelligence and tools like ChatGPT?
Let me get back to, so he corrected me in the email right here. My original calculation, 70,539,987,826,694. He corrected me 842,520. So his number is slightly higher than mine, which means the probability of this being coincidence goes up. Well, not being coincidence goes up. So again, the lottery ticket, the chances of us fitting 15 out of 61 prophecies is the equivalent of Israel holding 1 lottery ticket out of 70 trillion lottery tickets. 70,539,987,842,000. Let me say that again. 70,539,987,842,520 lottery tickets. The odds of us fitting 15 out of 61 prophecies is the same odds as us having 1 lottery ticket and winning that lottery among 70.5 trillion other people. We don't have 1 trillion people on the planet. So now let me show you guys a visual representation of just how big 1 trillion is. Now, here is the whole prophecy chart. This is the one you guys will be able to download. It won't be split up like this. I did this for the video. Let me move this up here. I did this for the video so you guys wouldn't see the results before I got to them. But this is what the actual prophecy chart will look like that you download. I have my original calculation on here, and I do have the corrected one from the Harvard professor. And again, you guys can independently verify these numbers. Men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. The numbers are the numbers regardless if you apply them to whoever you want to. So now the prophecy fulfillment calculation, I added that on here. So 15 out of 61 prophecies means that we fulfill 24.59016393442623% of the prophecies. And yeah, the number only grows because what I didn't calculate was how many prophecies we actually fulfill. I will be filling out this chart more, but as I have calculated right now, or I'll say based on what I know, we fulfill at least 19 of those 61 prophecies. I only did calculations for 15, and the more prophecies you add, the more this number will go up right here. 9.224333340 times 10 to the 25th power. It will exceed the probability of your chances of being struck by lightning 7 times. And it's either a coincidence or it's by design. Either we're winning the lottery by extreme luck, or the game is rigged, and the person controlling the game, and I'll use that word person loosely, the one controlling the game rigged it so that we are the people, and the one controlling the game knew the outcome. So
JT Mac, do me a favor and read this.
It's too small for me to read, Berean.
The problem is people don't believe in the Bible or prophecy. That's how God is known to be true, because of his prophecies that come to pass. I want the Christians to hold on to that right there. What are y'all thoughts on this? You don't believe
So,
prophecy, JT Mac?
of course, I believe prophecy in its proper context. I don't just blankly apply prophecy to any and everything. People,
Okay, anybody else on that prophecy thing? Fair use.
So let me show you. We'll watch this video. How big is a trillion? Let me go ahead and mute my mic so you guys can hear the video.
How big is 1 trillion? You know, for humans, it's really hard for us to get our heads around these really large numbers. Like, really, what's the difference between a million, a billion, and a trillion? Well, one of the ways to really think about it is to break it down to something, a scale we can really understand. So if you think about a million as 1 foot, about this long, a billion is 1,000 millions, or about 1,000 feet. That would be like a, say, 3 or maybe 4 minute walk for you to do. Like, still very doable. But what about a trillion? How big is a trillion? Well, a trillion is 1,000 billions. So don't worry, I'm not going to make you do any math or dig out a calculator. But if a million is 1 feet, a trillion is almost 200 miles. It's technically 189 miles. So think about that. The next time you hear people throwing around these numbers like millions and billions, there's a huge difference between a trillion and a million.
All right, so you heard him. There's a huge difference between a trillion and a million, but we're dealing with 70 trillion. He said a trillion is roughly 200 miles. So if we multiply that by 70, we end up with about 14,000 miles. 14,000 miles. That's the distance to to 70 trillion. So again, men lie, women lie, the numbers don't. We have proven ourselves through the Bible. People can say we're interpreting it wrong and we're taking it out of context, but it led us to the history, which proved our point. It led us to the DNA, which proved our point. It led us to the geography, the language, the archaeology, and now the math is on our side. The odds that we fit just 15 out of these 61 are 1 in 70 trillion, 539,000, a billion, I mean, 987,842,520. Do me a favor. If you knew you could only buy one lottery ticket and 70 trillion other people were going to buy a lottery ticket, your chance was 1 in 70 trillion, would you go out and buy that lottery ticket? How many of you would go out and bet everything you have on that lottery ticket to win? Do me a favor, press 1 if you would bet everything you have on a 1 in 70 trillion chance to win the lottery. And do me a favor if you say, you know what, those odds are absurd and my chances of winning, being right, are almost zero. Not completely impossible, because you got one chance in 70 trillion. It's not completely impossible, but the odds are so far stacked against you to make it highly improbable that you would win. And yet here we are in America, Black people in America, some going off visions, some going off history, some going off DNA, some going off strictly the Bible, and we all reach the same conclusion that we are the people. And then we look at the history, the language, the DNA, the geography, the archaeology, and now the math, and we see that we were right. What are the odds? Do we believe our Bible or do we believe the doctrine?
I don't like that part. The doctrine doctrine just means teaching. If it's a teaching that y'all went to slavery, it's still coming out the Bible. But I guess I understand what say ye on that, y'all? What y'all done heard that? What say ye on that, JT Mac? That sound good, but you ain't going for it?
Brother, I am not. Look, I'm 55 years old.
Uh-huh.
You know, I didn't grow up in church or no game. So the dude is slick. He know how to manipulate statistics and he know how to manipulate one book to another and one thing from another and trying to put them together with suppositions and probabilities and you know and and then he says, what are the chances of you know of people having visions and dreams and all these things? So I'm interested to see what Avery and Moore has to say.
All right, go ahead, y'all. Y'all want to say something in closing?
So I'll say this: like, I'm not trying to impugn the brother's character, or whatnot, because I think you can have a bias, like you can be sincere and still operate with the bias or whatnot. But that's why information needs to be checked or whatnot, and that's why people need to have their information challenged or whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's also going to be why certain people like me and Abu and Yab Gang and all them, we're going to catch a lot of hell or whatnot, because we believe in checking information and whatnot. And for a lot of people, they're connected to this emotionally. You see how every time that you see every single solitary time an argument gets examined or whatnot, it gets challenged for information or whatnot, someone's going to come through with an emotional response, like, and literally push, like defending somebody and saying more than what the person themselves are saying and whatnot, right? And a lot of times, like saying less than what the other person is saying.
Do me a favor, read Bruce, because somebody, I got to go back in, because folk already feel some type of way. Bruce sat here and defended his teachers on that false prophecy and said, oh, we had false prophets in Christianity too. They prophesy falsely in Christianity. They ain't got nothing to do with answering it. He said it ain't from God. The brother ain't said he got it from God. He called it a revelation. Bruce, as a Pentecostal, took that revelation somewhere else, not like a regular Pentecostal. But read what Bruce is saying.
He said, I've been looking at the chat since the video started, and I see why people don't respect many Christians. I think that's what he meant to say.
Yes, he said Christianity. I think the same thing. Why is that, Bruce? JT Mac, what would you say to that? You're a Christian.
Well, of course, if we don't line up behind their leaders, then, you know, we're running interference, and so they don't like that. I'm just keeping it 100. I mean, Bruce is cool, but he was on here yesterday, literally arguing about the sources, about the same sources that Dante was using that Nefertiti was blowing up, and he sit here and said, well, you have to, you know, pick the meat off the bones, and like, brother, that's not how you do sources. Either source is corrupt or it isn't, you know. So I don't know, man.
That's not how the Bible say do a prophet or prophecies. Go ahead. Go ahead. Anybody else in closing before we get out of here? Bruce said unwanted bias. All right.
I guess Avery must have stepped away.
Huh?
No, I said I guess Avery must have stepped away.
Okay, he probably maybe he did. All right, I appreciate it, everybody. We're gonna boy. Let me just let some of this play before I get out of here. And I didn't even say we're gonna pick this up. Let's see if anybody go do some research. It's just this foolishness people throwing out there. I know. It's anywhere you slice the cake, it's gonna look rough if people don't get the answer in some of this. Some people feel he just throw a whole bunch of information out there. What sticks, and that ain't scholarship. But whatever it is, there's gonna be somebody that can go for it. Let me play some of this. Somebody send me these clips. I appreciate everybody be sending me clips and stuff like that. Let's play some of this just from the other day with Wiggin on when we were talking. I think we were talking about Acts and Simeon. That was called Niger. Let's see how Deacon and them handle it. Type of one if y'all heard the video playing. This is when Bruce and Wiggins were on here talking about the early church, and the early church being used called the N-word, and how Israelites like to use. You didn't hear anything? How Israelites like to use Some Israelites have used Acts 13 and Simeon that was called Niger. Simeon was called Niger, the black dark one. Does that mean everybody else in the church of Antioch was dark? Can you use that passage to prove Israelites was black because one person, Simeon, that was called Niger? Does that mean that everybody was dark? They said they can't. You can't hear me now, or you couldn't hear the video. No sound. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about right now with me talking. I know y'all a couple seconds behind.
Connection to say that all of the original Christians were called niggers. It's a byword. They were Israel, and I think that's doing too much with the text. Going to Acts 11, going to Acts 13, that's doing too much. And do we find outside sources? Do we find other people? Because we have people talking about Christians. We have we have people talking about Christians. What's the other guy he's mentioning? What's the problem we're going to do with these Christians? They're mentioning them. Who's using calling them the N-word? And y'all are doing that based on one guy named Simeon that's called Niger, meaning the black one. It's only speaking about him. You're going to expand it to all of Israel. You're going to expand it to all of the church.
These guys are lying. These guys are lying. They're trying to say Simeon means black. No. Hold on. Let's just...
Did I say Simeon means black?
Connection to say that all of the original Christians were called niggers. It's a byword. They were Israel, and I think that's doing too much with the text. Going to Acts 11, going to Acts 13, that's doing too much. And do we find outside sources? Do we find other people? Because we have people talking about Christians. We have people talking about Christians. What's the other guy he's mentioning? What's the problem we're going to do with these Christians? They're mentioning them. Who's using calling them the N-word? And y'all are doing that based on one guy named Simeon that's called Niger, meaning the black one?
I just said, and Simeon that is called Niger, meaning the black one. Did I say Simeon means black? Did I say Simeon means black?
It's only speaking about him. You're going to expand it to all of Israel. You're going to expand it to all of the church.
These guys are lying. These guys are lying. They're trying to say Simeon means black. No. Hold on. Let's just... I could be wrong. Let's take a look at the name Simeon. See what it means, man. Hearkening. It means hearkening. From the saying, here's a root. Rock or stone. Oh, it's from the same as what, Peter? So hearkening. It means hearkening. It doesn't mean black. These guys are liars. So they're saying, oh, his name just means black. That don't mean he's black. No, it says this man's name is Simeon, and he was called Negro.
They were Israel, and I think that's doing too much with the text. Going to Acts 11, going to Acts 13, that's doing too much. And do we find outside sources? Do we find other people? Because we have people talking about Christians. We have people talking about Christians. What's the other guy he's mentioning? What's the problem we're going to do with these Christians? They're mentioning them. Who's using calling them the N-word? And y'all are doing that based on one guy named Simeon that's called Niger, meaning the black one?
Simeon that is called Niger, meaning the black one. Niger is the word we were focusing on, because Elder Wiggins was saying that's where we get the nigger word from, and all early Christians were called niggers or something to that effect. Niger, Simeon that is called Niger.
It's only speaking about him. You're going to expand it to all of Israel. You're going to expand it to all of the church.
These guys are lying. These guys are lying. They're trying to say Simeon means black. No. Hold on. Let's just... I could be wrong. Let's take a look at the name.
He said he could be wrong. Deacon, you're wrong, brother. You're wrong. Let's focus on the other word, Niger. I've been doing this for a little while. We was talking about we, Judah, Israel in 91. Told y'all, Dr. Ben, we the black Jews. How many years you been in the Awakening? 10? We read 2 scriptures out that book.
Simeon. See what it means, man. Hearkening. It means hearkening. From the saying, here's a root. Rock or stone. Oh, it's from the same as what Peter. So hearkening. It means hearkening. It doesn't mean black. These guys are liars. So they're saying, oh, his name just means black. That don't mean he's black. No, it says this man's name is Simeon, and he was called Negro. Why? Because of his dark hue.
Now, the argument is that have been used by Israelites. Let's go to the passage. Let's go to the passage before we get out of here. That's fair to say. Now, there were in the church that was in Antioch certain. Was it Abe? I don't want to say the wrong name. Humanity, who was it? Now there was certain, was it Alan, Judah, Order said, now there, I'm saying too many names, I'm putting it on everybody, could be wrong. One of them 3, somebody said, now there was in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers. Then somebody said, who was that asked what a semicolon mean, what a comma mean? Get ready to name certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius the Cyrene and Manian, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. Some people are reading this to say the whole church of Antioch were black people. And because Acts 11:26 said they were first called Christians in Antioch, everybody was called the N-word. That was the disrespect. They will be called by a byword. Everybody in the church of Antioch, and this also proves that Israelites were black. Then take that with Judah mourneth and is black unto the ground. Solomon say, don't look upon me because I am black. And that ain't even Solomon talking. Judah mourneth and the black unto the ground ain't got nothing to do with the color of the people. That was the situation that they were in. This is the nonsense that we want you to address, Deacon. This is the nonsense. It don't seem, and look at it in other versions. They say King James is the black Israelite, and look at it in the NIV, look at it in different versions and see if that's what it's saying. Does any version, major version that you can look at, try to make it sound like the whole church of Antioch was black? Based on that. And if Simeon, that was called Blackie, Niger, nigger, the dark one, if Simeon is called that, does that mean Barnabas wasn't dark? Manny and Lucius wasn't dark? Of Cyrene, Africa, but we already had the Hebrew Israel on here. Everybody in Africa wasn't dark. One minute y'all say it's not skin color, then y'all will jump to scripture and get the twisting up scripture, Judah mourneth and black into the ground. Solomon even talking the song. Y'all just ill with it. That's all we're saying is ill with it. How you handling the Bible, you're ill with it. So that make people don't want to look any further. We look at the other brother sources. They talk about the white Jew and they talk about the black Jew. He's only reading when the black Jew. We found that with him, and we found that with Benai Israel when he talk about the redhead Jews from Russia. Let me play the flute lady and close with the flute lady. It's crazy. That's all I can say. It's crazy. Let me see if there's any. When I retire, I'm going to build my own channel. When I retire and build my own channel, I will devote most of my time to continue to bring you deceived Christians out of darkness. Christians got Christ and they in darkness. Glory to the Lamb of boy. I'm telling you, that don't even sound good, Bruce. And the grasp of the beast, the wicked rope. Oh boy, I can't make this stuff up. All right, let me see if I got to close any of these windows before we jump up out of here. I'm telling y'all right now, y'all different. That's all I can say. Y'all different. Let's get to the conspiracy lady. Did I play her? Let me see. Where am I at? I want to make sure my thing is. All right, that's something else here. But the conspiracy is against us. They've been lying. Ashkenazi Jews are lying. There's a few of them that's converts. DNA can prove it. History prove it. Prophecy proves it. Some people would look at the blessings. You should lend and not borrow. When y'all had banks, when y'all was lending money, British Israelism doing the same thing. They go off of the blessings. That's the only reason some people are scared. British Israelism say God allowed us to conquer these people and travel these lands and do all of this because plenty of people are Israel in Europe and England. So they got to rule because they're the head and not the tail. So they go by the blessing, y'all go by the curses. Both of y'all say y'all Israel.
Okay, so today I told you I would show you the Illuminati in the Bible, as well as Illuminati, Freemason, League of Nations in the body, and I'm going to explain to you what it is they're trying to do. So, scripture, it's Psalms 83:3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The importance of Israel, you would think metaphorically that means the 12 tribes. But when you know the actual Bible, there was the house of Judah and there was a house of Israel. The house of Israel is invoking a certain prophecy. Here's the second book exposing the Illuminati, Freemasonry, all that. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares, privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. Every one of them, you would think it means the whole house of Israel or all the 12 tribes. No, the hidden ones, which are the ones who are of the house of Israel. They know where Sarah's buried. They know where Abraham is buried. They stay in Israel, Egypt, all that. They know generationally this bloodline exists on the earth. They know this. It's in the Bible. This one created this one, created this one. The bloodline is in the Bible. They kind of giving you a peek at this in the movie The Da Vinci Code, where they're seeking out Sarah's, what do they call it, sepulcher, where she laid to rest. So they know who thine hidden ones are. Let's get what it is they're trying to do and what it is they're trying to prevent. I think I'll do that in the next video. Just a second.
Thank God that TikTok gives 10 minutes to talk about this. Now, of course, I'm not going to use the.
You understand? Who is that? Eyes as a flame of fire, the man with the feet as fire and brand. Who that is?
Oh, thank God that TikTok gives 10 minutes to talk about this. Now, of course, I'm not going to use the full 10, but I definitely have an answer for this one. And if you see me kind of look this way, I actually have notes on this particular topic. So if you start with verse 14 in Revelation chapter 1, it says that his head and hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. Notice how the scripture says that it was his head and hairs that were white like wool. And notice that there is a separation between the actual head and the hair. Head could also be rendered as face. So for starters, that means Jesus couldn't have been black in the way we think to be black if his head or face was white. If you actually look at this word white in its Greek etymology, it's actually the word leukos, which actually means white, bright, or brilliant. So right here, the color white refers to glowing or blazing, not just a normal flat color white. So really, this word white here really resembles divine wisdom. When the text says that his eyes were a flame of fire, it actually shows how God is looking in the depths of his church and can also be seen as divine judgment. We have verse 15, which says that his feet were like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. And this part is usually where Hebrew Israelites try to push and see Jesus' feet were black, therefore he was a black man. But the scripture does not mean that Jesus' feet were black. Any scientist will tell you that if you actually put brass inside a furnace, even when it's taken out, it glows. As you can see, this is what brass looks like when it's actually burned. It makes a glowing white color. While we see at the forefront of the scripture that his head and hairs were glowing, they were white like wool, the text is still saying that his feet were glowing as well. So we put all these aspects together, the fact that it's bright, fire, and glowing. What John is seeing is not the race or color of Jesus' skin, but he's experiencing the glory in the holiness, in the brightness of Jesus himself. Meaning he's experiencing and seeing Jesus' glorified body, which means that everything that we read in Revelation chapter 1, verses 14 through 15 are symbolic. It is metaphorical. There's a symbolic meaning to what John is saying. And let's just say you're going to pull its actual literal card. Then you would have to say that Jesus was literally holding 7 stars in his right hand, and from his mouth came a literal 2-edged sword, and his face was literally shining in full strength. Clearly, these are metaphorical, symbolic words that John is using to describe what he's seeing in regards to Jesus.
Okay, hopefully that one was over. Let me play a little bit of this right here.
Hey, peace, y'all. It's your brother 93. Today we're going to be dealing with a quote from the book Nature Knows No Color Line by J.A. Rogers. This is one of the sources used frequently to make claims about the Portuguese and the Sephardic Portuguese Jews being black. So here's the relevant quote by the Duchess Abrantes. It says, "The Jew, the Negro, and Portuguese can be seen in a single person." So, they get this in J.A. Rogers' book, and they pretty much take this to mean they're all black. They just pick the Negro out and just kind of assume that all 3 of them in their purest state are black. So let's look into the work of J.A. Rogers. If you just simply read into the title page and the chapters, you'll get an idea of where J.A. Rogers is going. The title of his book is Nature Knows No Color Line, Research into the Negro Ancestry in the White Race, right? And if you go to his table of contents, you'll just clearly see that mixing between races is featured prominently in his work. I mean, pertaining to the Portuguese, he actually has a whole chapter called Racial Intermixture in Spain and Portugal. Negro ancestry in the French, in the Anglo-Saxons, right? In white America, recent mixed marriages, right? So, I mean, if you just look at the table of contents, you can kind of factor that in as a possibility to how, he includes a quote like that, pertaining to Jews, regular Portuguese, and African people having a similar look, right? Page 123 of his source is literally in the chapter called Negro Ancestry in the White Race. But regardless, as for the quote about them all looking similar, can that be explained or shown in other sources? And can that be shown through mixture, since his book is inclusive of that aspect of racial mixture? So here's a source, Travels Through Portugal and Spain by Richard Twist. And we're going to page 2. Page 2 of this source, right in the middle of the page, we read, about 1/5 of the inhabitants of Lisbon consist of blacks, mulattoes, or of some intermediate tint of black and white. That's interesting that a significant portion of their population, and Lisbon is in Portugal, right, is either black, mulatto, or some shade in between black or white, right? Here's a source: The Menace of Color by John Walter Gregory.
Now, y'all believe there were black and white. Let me just make sure we know. Y'all believe that there were two sets of people in Spain and Portugal, black and white Jews. That's what y'all, that's what we do. That's where we at. Type of one if that's where we at. Or the white Jews took the history and lied. There's really only black Jews that got ran out and went through an Inquisition and all of that. That was really only black Jews or mostly black Jews. Type of one if y'all anything along those lines.
1925. We're going to go to page 116 in this text. It says the population of Portugal is estimated to have decreased during the 16th century from about 2 million to less than 1.1, right? It says the land fell out of cultivation until Negroes were imported, that's in Portugal, to replace the cultivators who had immigrated to the colonies. So there were men in Portugal.
This is what we're talking about. Look how Bruce talking about 93. Another brother who lives in, oh man.
Portugal that were leaving to the Portuguese colonies, and then they brought in Negroes. They were bringing in more Negroes. It says these slaves intermarried with the excess of Portuguese women left by the immigration of the men and were absorbed into the nation. The strength of this.
I don't know, maybe this is a side conversation. Russell Higgins said, show me a source that says white Jews were sent into Africa, please. If Israel is spread all over the world, why are you looking at Africa? Because you're connected to the slave trade part? And the prophecy wasn't fulfilled with them being scattered until they went from West Africa all to all of the nations of the world based on slavery? Type of one if that's what you're saying.
Intermixture.
The truth is a lot of y'all hate the white Jew. A lot of y'all hate the white Jew because you think that they stole your identity. They're trying to walk in your blessing. If they were converts, if they were not converts, if people only, whoever for some reason, sick people only think there were white Jews on the planet, whatever the reason is, y'all hate the white Jew. I would say, why can't they be Jews too? Is there any way that the awakening can go forth without talking so much about Ashkenazi Jews and how they being wicked and basically they're not even fit to live? All of that's a problem. Now the feds all infiltrated, now the feds all up in the awakening. Law enforcement all around here mess around with y'all being known as a hate group. And y'all moderates linked with the camp, and y'all have the camp doctrine because you don't believe Ashkenazi Jews have a right to exist. These are problems. Or that they're fake and y'all are real. And they were the main ones pushing the lie. They were the main ones because they got to keep the identity hidden. That's how come, didn't they say Ashkenazi Jews were connected with the birth of a nation and all of that other stuff? So this is where herein lies the beef. These are major problems. And just like the camps, Dante's fighting the same thing with the black Ashkenazi and saying, well, they have some practices from them, but for the most part, basically, if I'm understanding the video correctly that we watched, them folk Europeans, them folk ain't no Israelite, and they ain't got no blood connection with Israel. The Hebrew Israel Yap gang, they'll never be comfortable in Israel. Israel never be comfortable with them, should I say, because they go against because they're not saying that. Many of my church friends and Dr. Brown that was on here saying that he know the original Jews weren't Europeans. Dr. Brown said that, but that's not enough for y'all. They must be destroyed. They must be exposed. Bruce, if you let me leave these folk alone. Let me just leave these folk alone. Oh, another reason is I don't really look at color and stuff like that. I'll explain to y'all before. I used to be into. I hate even getting into the whole thing. I used to be into money and safes and just I used to be into some other stuff. I'll tell y'all the testimony later, Lauren, about some Jewish people. They loved me. I was like a son to them. This is one of the reasons. This is in 89. This is in 90, 88. I don't know. This is way back. I won't even get into the story now. That's a whole long story. But people want to know why I do some of what I do. I'm not going to sit and act like every Jew wicked. Them folk loved me like a son. But I'm telling y'all right now, I wasn't the son type to love. I could give you that impression, but I'm not that. I'll get to that story another day. But I did some stuff and I really, your father had a heart attack and everything. They were so hurt and they treated me like a son. I slide, and when I slid, I brought my man on. My man ended up working for them like 8 years. And the day that thing happened, I'm gonna just put it this way: they loved me so much. The day that thing happened, and my man was like, "Yo, they were, because I hit him around the way, and I made sure I got him right, and his girl, his baby mama, and all of that. And I slid out of town. I did something, and I slid out of town. He said, "Yo, we went in the back. They had a whole office for you. They moved you up to the position of a manager. They had the cake. They was getting ready to have a party. When you come back and you slid, and I slid, and just I can't even get into the whole story. I can't get to the whole story. I'm not one to judge people based on no nonsense, because I know folk will show love. I know everybody ain't running around here with no skin color garbage. Y'all can't feed me that. Y'all can't feed me that because of my experiences. That's just one.
Mixture can be recognized by the Negroid features often seen in Portugal and even in some members of the most distinguished families. Sounds a lot like the kind of stuff J.A. Rogers talks about. Next source is The Living Races of Mankind by Henry Neville Hutchinson and John Walter Gregory and Richard Lydecker, 1902. I'm going to go to like page 480, right? And we're going to read this, talk about the Moors have influenced the Portuguese as much as they have the Spaniards. We're going to go to this sentence. One element in the mixed composition of this people deserves a special notice. In the days of her colonial activity, Portugal had an extensive trade with Africa and India, and slaves were largely imported into the country. A pronounced Negro type had been frequently noticed among the Portuguese in certain districts, and this may be attributed to the readiness of the Portuguese, no less than the Spaniards, to mix with the inferior races with which they have come into contact. How far the Jews may be said to have influenced this physical characteristics of the race, it is difficult to say, but travelers have remarked on the prevalence of the Jewish type of features in Portugal. In spite of medieval oppression, the Jews have flourished amazingly in the peninsula, and at the present day, the Spanish or Portuguese Hebrew is looked on as the aristocrat of his race. Physically, the Portuguese cannot be said to be as handsome as the Spaniards. Their features are generally irregular and their frames ill-knit. The complexion is sallow and dull, and that's a Portuguese woman right here. So it does talk about the mixture in Portugal, the Negro element in Portugal due to the mixing with these quote-unquote inferior races, us black people and maybe even Indians, right? Moving on. Final source we're going to go into is Travels Through Europe by Neville Wyndham, Volume 4, because there's several volumes. 1790, right? And we're going to start with page 225. And it talks about Bilbao. I believe this is in Spain. Bilboa or Bilbao. Right here, if you just go down, it talks about Bilbao or Bilboa. And Right here, it says, the inhabitants have always preserved themselves from a mixture with the Jews and Moors. So you see the Iberian Jews, the ones in Spain, and the Moors mixing with Spanish inhabitants of Bilbao or Bilboa. Now we come to the same source. We're going to page 290 to 291, and we read, respect.
All right, 93. That music got me. And another problem is the way, I don't know, for some reason, the way y'all interpret a convert, it just seems to be a little bit disrespectful. To me, it seems like, I don't know if that's really in line with what the Bible is saying. Y'all acting like a convert ain't nothing. For some reason, I don't know if it's a bitterness because of slavery, because if it is a bitterness because of slavery, y'all blame that on the Most High. But it's just something about the movement that's a little crazy. Don't fall for the nonsense. That's what we're saying right here. Let me play these church folk right here, show you these so-called church folk and this nonsense they doing now. And this nonsense is jumping. Wait, let me see. Is this it? Yeah, let me show y'all this nonsense right here. And this seemed to be jumping in Africa. Why? Where Jesus and them do this at? Where the early church do this at? Where people do this at? Where they doing this at? Where they doing this at, y'all? But these people, they're not into, they don't care because they get in the bag off of religious folk. And this is how come they got to separate people like the other two twin false prophets. They got to separate people. I'm talking about them African dudes right now that's riding around in coops and that heavy-set dark-skinned guy. I got to put up all these people on the internet. And the reason that they got to separate the people from the scriptures is so they can make up prophecies. They can make things up. So they do that, and people get to accept it and get to defending these false teachers and these false movement, Kundalini spirit. This thing ain't got nothing to do, nowhere in the book. So they're saying everything is not in the book. You're going to be doing and seeing some stuff that's not in the book. Who say God don't approve it? The other guy said God don't know. God no longer looks at homosexuality, LGBT type stuff. He no longer looks at that as a sin. They switching the whole book up, and they putting God on it. And then people clapping. One thing I can say, false teacher, not especially false teachers, though, you're going to always find the following. You're going to always find the following because people want to believe. Where they doing this at? He said it's Cash App Doctor Terrence Jones. Where they doing this at? And I'm gonna tell y'all what. Let me say what a lot of Israelites don't know when they start talking about this Christianity, this Christianity, this Christianity. A lot of folk in Christianity don't go for none of this right here. None of it. Y'all hear me? None of it. But leave it to y'all. Almost every church doing this. I don't know what that nonsense was, but y'all love it and folk like a show. And this thing is jumping. This thing is growing. This is the Christianity that's on the internet. By large, this is the Christianity that jumps. This is the Christianity that got private jets. Largely, the false Christianity got private jets. Not so much the real. Name some people in the real biblical Christianity. That's not word of faith. Name it and claim it. Kundalini spirit, prayer lines, collecting bread for that. God says 21 of y'all in here with $1,000. They only get 6 people. Did God lie? They say, no, the rest of y'all hardhead, y'all don't want to give a kid of 5,000 to the man of God, and you're going to be blessed. Boy, I'm good. Good night.